O'Connell,
Here.
Sharon Kelly,
Here.
Tracy LaBeouf,
Here.
Doug Rowdy,
Here.
Here.
and Mr.
It's gone.
He is gone.
He's insane.
Yeah, okay,
We have 5 out of 6 today.
okay. Approval of the agenda. We'll entertain a motion,
I make a motion, we approve the agenda.
right? Doug second. Anybody see any changes? If not, we can move it around whenever. All those in favor then say aye. Opposed? No. Approval of our minutes from the 16th of March.
Make a motion.
Tracy, is there a second?
Second it.
Yeah. Anybody see any corrections or anything? Hearing none, then all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Public comment. We have some public here or not. Anybody for public comment? No? All right. We have one supervisor, Mr. Hall.
Yeah.
Nothing? All right. Good. Let's do the timber sales.
Sound good?
Yes. We might be done before. So. Okay.
I'm giving him the stink eye.
Morning.
Good morning.
I remember.
Could you zoom in a little bit, Claire? Just kind of blow up, yeah, that part of it probably. And a little less. Right there? Yeah. Scroll down maybe. I don't know if anybody can see that or not. Right there. All right. Morning, like I said. We had our timber sale bid opening yesterday at 2:00. We had one member of the public and then Sarah and Paul. So we opened the sealed bids. We had eight different timber sales that I presented last month. We're going out for bid. So good news, we got bids on every one of them. So that was positive to fight the market conditions right now. So people are still looking for work. The kind of the process of this too, you guys are the approvals of the timber sales. So it's each, we can do it a couple different ways, but I can present all the top bidders. We don't have any contentious logging companies or anything that were successful bidders. So there's no issues there on my end with their performance in the past. But yeah, the total bids, between the 8 were just over $218,000 for the county. So jobs obviously carried a lot of it, ashes to ashes, but yeah. So is there any, do you guys have any questions, I guess, before we would look at approving the sales? So.
I just had a general question.
Yeah.
You know, you talked about that the pulp market was really kind of in danger.
Yeah.
So, and you were kind of, I'm thinking pleasantly surprised that this came in so well. Is that, so are they, do you have a feel? I mean, are they just confident that it's not going to be an issue for them with their, or what happens? I mean, if they sign this contract and then they suddenly can't find a market for their pulp,
Yeah.
are they on the hook for it, or how does that work?
Good question. So one, the pulp prices really aren't that great overall. I mean, 20 years ago, right? So
Sure.
prices are pretty much or worse than they were 20 years ago.
Okay.
So they're still paying quite a bit less. If there's other, and just because it's pulp doesn't mean, so we have a 10-inch diameter limit on our pulp to saw log change. There could be a bolt market that's really good too. So they're also accounting for bolts in those pulp prices,
Okay.
if that makes sense. So there's still a product code or a product that's coming out of that pulp. Or not all of it, right? There's some that is just straight up as pulp. But lump sums, right? They paid us for that volume that we estimated there. There could be some flexibility, right? When I'm in the field, seeing how much they utilize, that's where we have the discussions. The pine is what's gonna be the hardest, like 4-inch top on pine. Might have to be some flexibility if I've got 6 different contractors that can't move pulp anywhere. To tweak in the field that we could try to do 6-inch top or something like that. We still get paid for that product up to that, amount, but there could be some lost or waste. A lot of our sales, I don't know, would you say yeah, do you got anything Paul?
So
In terms of,
part of the question is if they bid this price and are they stuck with that? Yes, if the price
They're
goes,
stuck with the
that price
price,
goes down for their delivered price 2 years from now and they cut it, they're obligated to pay the county this price.
So there is no wiggle room for them as far as we lost our pulp market.
There is no adjustment on price that
Okay.
they're gonna pay.
Yeah.
There is adjustment, some discrepancy or some Brent has leeway to adjust that top diameter.
Sure.
If there's really nowhere to go with really small stuff.
Okay.
He can move that, but they are on the hook for that price. That's the weird thing about logging business and selling stumpage. It's not like a daily commodity or you're paying market prices. They're betting on these prices when they cut this.
Right.
And it's a weird business.
Okay.
Yeah, and again, if the price goes up for them, good for them.
And if it goes down, yeah, they're taking the risk.
Yes.
Absolutely. Okay. That was just curious, like I said, based on our last discussion. So thank you.
This is set out for 2 years or 3?
all of them are 2 except Ashes. The Ashes is 3-year contract.
So one is a 3-year, the rest are usually 2. Okay.
Yep. Yep. And we discussed that last meeting. It
Yep.
was with
Yep.
winter only and it's lump sum too. So I think there's gonna be some incentive to get in there before the ash goes away. So,
Sure. Okay.
if the ash borer, right, if it hits the trees and there's still grade lumber in it, it's still volume that they have to remove. So that they should be incentivized by it being lump sum to get it before it's not veneer, so it's not veneer anymore, or it's not grade 1 lumber, but we're still getting paid, if it's still alive. So,
Sure.
and I think we got some, even if it got in next year, I think the trees wouldn't be dead by the time the contract would be expired. So we'd still be fine without losing our shorts anyway. So, yeah, then we got 9 different bidders, so that was good. Trying to think of anything else. With these 8 sales, getting sold, we'll be up to 15 sales on the contract. So, total, so we have 7 currently with addition of 8. And then it'll put us, total remaining on the books, just over 621,000 this edition. So, we got sales obviously expiring this spring. It's June coming up, and then next year we'll have June, and then these ones will be mostly 2 years from now, June of 2028. Right?
Okay.
So, that's about all I have, I guess.
So we could probably do them all as one and just take
Yeah, I think
the
last
motion that the highlighted ones are the ones that you want. Is that
as
correct?
presented, yep, yeah. And then I think last year, Shabana just had in the notes of the bidder plus the amount. So, and then for the timber sale that they bought. That
Okay.
makes sense. But yeah, I think we could do a general as presented and highlighted highest bidder.
Okay, that the highest bidder is presented and then list them out that way.
Yep.
Okay,
And then this packet will just get added to the minutes, I'm assuming.
Sure.
So,
I would make that motion that we accept the bids as presented with the highest bidder for each of the eight offered tracks. Highest bidder, that we accept those highest bidders offered.
okay. We have a second on that, and Doug will second that. Any other questions of that? If not, then all those in favor say aye. Opposed? Okay. Yes, thank you. Alright. Gonna jump into 8 and do A. Do this again. So does it look like going the other way now?
Yeah, so as you can see from the packet there in the shoreland, I added retaining wall definition that was mentioned or discussed, and then the landscaping definition as well. Those were both in red on this copy. And all the information that was added underneath the general purpose shoreland were uses that are currently in our ordinance in shoreland. And where we had discussed that this would be the place, if you go this route with the ordinance, to put those uses in there. I did do some digging, some historical digging, to try to get a better understanding of when these were entered into the ordinance or approved in the ordinance. It appears to me that some of this language was put in the shoreland ordinance before it was put in the general. So I just want to make that clarification, because I think there's some thoughts that it was just taken from our general and put into the shoreland, but for sure, like travel trailers and tourist rooming houses, they were mentioned or had conditions in the shoreland ordinance before they were in the general. It's kind of a more of a informational piece to note that, because that was, I feel, important information when determining if those conditions should be in the shoreland or not. I do have a couple. I look back, I saw travel trailers conditions were in as far as like 2002. It's tough looking at old paper copies in our office, but I did get back to 2002 and found them in there. So I guess the main point of that is these were approved at some point to be in the shoreland ordinance by committee or county board for importance or purpose at that time to be in there. So I guess that's kind of, the review kind of ended up going that route rather than going through every single line and saying if it meets the purpose and intent. It's more of like, where did this stuff come from in the first place? Did it come from the general? And to me, it appears it was put in the shoreland for a reason. And then possibly what happened is they took the shoreland language and made it consistent in the general. That way there wasn't conflicting information across those two. But does that make sense, what I'm trying to explain, like how that language was in there? And that I don't think that it's necessarily just a copy and paste from the general to the shoreland.
That it started the other way.
Yeah, that's what it's starting. The more I'm looking into it, that's what it looks like is occurring, or did occur when it was approved through all the years. And I kind of looked at some of the other areas not relevant to the specific section, but like the substandard lot language that's in our general ordinance is the same exact language that's in the NR 115. So that was something that was kept consistent from the shoreline back to the general. We didn't have our own substandard lot language in the general and then put that in shoreland. So I think that also kind of made me even confirm more that some of this language was brought from the shoreline to the general to be consistent with how it is across both of those jurisdiction areas. Trying to think of anything else.
The non-conforming structures too, when you look at that, that's all from 115 too, isn't it? The non-conforming uses and structures.
Yeah, I think
Much.
some of that is a little different in the general,
Okay.
but it's for the most part the same. Yeah, I didn't look at those sections to see if we grabbed what was at that time in the shoreline and put it in our general for non-conforming uses. I wouldn't be surprised if it was kind of the route that it went.
Because those got changed quite a few different years when Walker was here and stuff, because it used to be the 50% rule and some of that. So a lot of that had changed.
And I do have a
So
document.
2015 would have been a lot of it too. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's where, so in 2019, when we have the conditional certification from the DNR on January 9th, 2019, that letter, that's when it changed from having a general purpose shoreline district to broken out into the specific districts like we have now, the residential, agricultural, RA5, everything in that.
That split was 2019.
Yeah, and so this was before it got split is the last kind of how it laid out before. Because I feel like even when I put it in the packet for that, for this meeting, it's not entirely,
You have an extra one?
yeah, I do. It's not entirely clear, how it would be enforced, because as you'll see in here, this is where it goes back to those allowed uses, change in use and conditional use. Whereas the intent of meeting that we brought from the past meeting to here was to look at this information to see if it was, if it should be kept in the ordinance. But there needs to be a little bit of additional information to say what, what's an allowed use, what's a conditional use, for that section itself. Because otherwise, if like it's in here, just to get it in there was just additional shoreline standards and it just lists them, but it doesn't say conditional use or if it's an allowed use. And that would be up to committee or
To go through and do that.
to say if you want it all in allowed uses, then it would just come through administratively. If there's specific things you want a conditional use, like industrial or like this one had all commercial uses, would have been a conditional use permit and to come through the committee to obtain that permit.
I think if I remember in 2019, that's why we split it out, because then it got the shoreline, everything, it got pretty muddled or whatever. Got to be quite a bit in there. But
Just a clarification, Chair, it started earlier than that in like 2015 and
oh
16.
yeah,
But it seems like that's when it was sent for certification.
yeah. But I mean, that's kind of when we started to decide to take the general and split it too.
And just to Logan's, right,
Years to decide to do that too. I mean, it just didn't happen overnight.
yeah, and further just to Logan's point about kind of the evolution of the laws. Obviously in a county where we have so much water, I mean, and natural bodies of water, a lot of the protections and the focus and what you heard public hearing after public hearing was about protecting in the shoreline area. So it makes sense that things were in the shoreline first. And then we did a duplicate out for consistency into the
Yeah.
general.
Yeah, because so many things in here would apply to general too, like boathouses wouldn't, but trailer parks or travel trailers or that type of stuff would apply in general too. So you don't,
Yeah, they can apply in general. I mean, they could be taken out if at some point, if somebody wanted them taken out, they could be taken out of general
yeah,
and left in shoreline there. I mean, as far as how it was done before, it appears like that's how some of those were approved prior to going into the general. Just to not get down the line of, it went from general to shoreline for sure. I think there was some pre-existing stuff in the shoreline that then got put into
because
the,
if it was left in shoreland, but not in general, then it would only apply in shoreland areas and not, they would have nothing in general.
Yeah.
for that specific use. So if there was a use that the committee and county board was like, yeah, we want this for shoreland areas because it makes sense to protect the water and everything,
But not in
but
general.
someone out in the middle of a 40, we
Yeah.
don't need a permit for that because
Yeah.
we're not concerned about
Yeah.
any resource that it may impact out there is kind of what it would be explained as.
So, and just forgive me, just a point of clarification. So from your research, you're saying that back from 2002, is what this information is, that in 2002?
No, that was more of an overview of looking back at all the conditions, travel trailers, what was in the shoreline. That's from 2018, so pre the 2019 change where
Okay.
it broke down into the zoning districts that we have currently in the ordinance.
Okay,
This would be the document that, how it was laid out prior to that change.
got it. So, so I guess my point was as far as how long these general purpose districts have been under shoreland. We know at least since 2018.
Yeah, I mean,
There seems to be a lot of like, discussion about, oh my gosh, all these huge changes, all these crazy things you guys are doing on this committee. But in essence, a lot of this language has been here for a very long time. I guess that's the point I'm trying to ask or make. Yes, Tim.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I should have Kim do that. Sorry.
Yeah, a lot has changed in the last decade in terms of what we've done here at the committee and then at the state level. But back when the initial change in the ordinance was happening after we did the comp plan, which was adopted in 2015 and then implemented in 2016, the idea back then was like we were trying to make some consistency across the two documents instead of having
Yeah.
more or less two standalones. So we did have, I don't know about the certification process, but we did have those zoning ordinance, the general zoning ordinance provisions and a lot of those other things in the shoreline and the general zoning issues.
In 2015.
Yes.
Thank you.
But implemented in 16 because we had to give the towns 12 months
Yep.
to adopt mapping.
That's right.
And you mentioned comp plan. It's funny because I've been looking at that. That's something I want to talk to you about, Mo, because we haven't updated the comp plan in 10 years.
In a decade.
Yeah.
Sharon, we've got enough on our plate right now.
Well,
Wes,
there's
what's got to
technically
be-
not a definition about what constitutes an update, but we've done the farmland preservation plan updates the last two times. And when those get incorporated as the agricultural element of the comp plan, it counts as an update.
Oh.
There isn't any further definition of what constitutes an update for the comp plan. So
Okay.
it's kind of when the county feels it's necessary. Yep.
So
Thank you.
it doesn't say total. Update. Kind of a play on words. So
Yeah,
they
it
skip
doesn't.
that
It
word. So
doesn't.
that if you do.
It doesn't, but it was
Yeah.
something when I was looking into this because, and then we had on West Central Wisconsin Regional Planning, when we had a meeting, we were talking about comp plans and so many people have not, counties have not kept their comp plans updated. And it's hard if I'm off on a tangent now, so I'll just not talk.
But that's supposed to go together a little.
But it's
bit.
just
Yeah.
verifying that when we do our comp.
Yeah.
That's where
It's
you
something to
start.
think about.
What year is ours? Was it, yeah, but was it a 20-year or 10-year comp plan?
It's supposed to be updated every 10 years.
Every 10, all
And
right.
then the scope of it's 20 years.
20.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, and it's good discussion just to understand the history, because obviously even the product of the ordinances that you're looking at and that Logan's looking back through is a product of years of public hearing and being, and what the boards at the time were hearing and what everything.
And the state changes all that
Yes.
stuff.
So it's,
That was a lot of changes. The state
Sure.
jumped in there.
yeah, and the comprehensive plan is supposed to be the blueprint, obviously,
Yeah.
for the building that you build.
Because we lost the tower once, we lost the wind energy, the solar panel. We had to change all that. So there was a lot of changes going on.
Yeah, and to add to that, to your question, the general purpose district section that's in the shoreland was well before 2015. It just didn't have all the stuff that it has.
Absolutely. Yeah, no,
So,
thank you.
so it's consistently there. It's just what the content is under that was
Sure.
deemed to be important or
Right.
approved at that time.
So short-term rentals add.
So they were mentioned in
Out of-
2010.
Probably when it started, but then it was added.
In the DNR.
Well, we have that short term. Does it say when that started? So it'd have been like 18.
When the actual conditions you're saying?
Yeah, when we started going out to all of them, that was before that even. Trying to think when we did all them site visits.
Yeah, I'm trying to think too. I do think 2009, 2010, we started feeling the large pressure. And initially when we started discussing them, it was more complaints from neighbors coming in and hearing those. And then every single one that came through it was developed as a conditional
use.
use.
Yeah.
And they were largely 95% in the shoreline area, so that then they were addressed in the shoreline ordinance. But those, we sat through them all, you know, Kim, you remember
4 or
probably,
5 at a time, yeah.
yeah, and the,
And
each one had unique conditions and, yeah.
we started with 15 or 20, it's something that seemed like, and then which ones applied to each one. Because, but then the reason it went back to administrative permit is because over 95% were approved.
Yes, it started to be that way.
It started to be that they were easily approved. You know, we didn't have as many shared wells, so we had
Yes,
lot lines and stuff. They had them surveyed, so they
yes.
passed.
It's been a, yeah, it's been an evolution.
That. Do you remember, Tim, when that?
Yeah, and the approved ones basically all had the same conditions, or most of them did, so you standardize them and put that in the ordinance.
And put it in the ordinance, yeah.
Is that's what it looks like, is they were like just kind of in there without conditions as underneath special exemption, and then they were in there as a use like they are in that document. And the conditions seem to be probably what were given, most of them, so then you just put it underneath the conditions of those.
Yeah, because each one, pretty much, we had a standard list and what applied, and we went down the list, and that's what's on there, yeah.
So then they could be issued in our office rather
Yeah.
than coming to the committee for everything.
And having to do site visits, and they still had to do
Yeah, so when
health.
did that process start? Because did the DNR ever certify the ordinance with those provisions?
DNR.
Yeah.
What?
So I mean, they're definitely in the 2019 conditional certification.
Yeah.
Before that, that's a certification I have for sure in there. Yes, correct. Like in this one, before the 2019 certification, they're also in here. In this one, there's what, 6 conditions at that time, so.
What year was that one?
This was, I don't know when this one was actually passed, but this is the document right before the 2019 change. So I was trying to find it. It gets a little bit,
Did you share what the 6 provisions were?
no RVs, campers, tents, or other means of overnight stay allowed. All sleeping accommodations must be within the dwelling unit. All parking must be contained on the property. Applicant must obtain all proper licensing. Applicant must have a 24-hour contact number available to the public. Property must remain free from citation and charges for conduct or any other illegal activity and in compliance with county ordinance, state and local laws.
That's the last.
No, this is the one before that certification. So that it changed in 2019. I don't have that one on me, I guess, but I could look at it.
If we want to pull a full history, we can. I
I can
mean,
use it.
yeah. Mhm. Absolutely.
All right,
I have a question.
go ahead.
So.
Yeah.
As I was kind of going through this and looking at some of the concerns and some of the questions about the rooming houses, we have language that calls it for a transient lodge.
Yeah.
I'm not seeing any place where a transient lodge, other than in the definition, is used. So I'm just curious, like, I'm trying to understand that the language. So basically, we are saying a tourist rooming house is a max of 12 occupants. That's what we're looking at in the shoreland because of the effect that excess of people would have on basically the impact on our water quality. Where does transient, why do we have a separate definition, and where does that fit in to?
Yeah, so from what I can tell, the only difference between a transient lodge and a tourist rooming house is the number of people.
And it limits the rentals.
Days, yeah, I think that's something that was supposed to get changed when the shoreline changed, because then now you're more restrictive than the
Right,
right to rent law.
right.
So that's something to get changed in the general. Or is it it's in the shoreland as
It's
well?
in Shirley, yeah.
No, actually,
Well,
it's not.
no,
It's in general.
crossed
Okay.
out.
It's only in general. So I'm just thinking, does that I'm trying to get off track here, but does that language just need to be struck completely? Because that is not in compliance with the right to rent law.
Yeah, I mean, I think a way that it could happen is you could have transient lodge saying it's over so many people. And that's where you get to where like there was kind of a regulation within the definition there saying the
Right.
number of days.
Yes,
So if you want the transient lodge, anything over a certain number of people to be a conditional use, which that's what it's under, I believe, in our current ordinance.
okay,
And
that's what
so-
that's what I couldn't
Yeah.
quite find where transient law, and I'm sure you're right. I'm
Because I think
couldn't
then there
find.
was different setbacks and stuff. Did we have it?
No,
We got
think
so
so.
many people. We used to have a.
no, it was
No.
just
No,
Sanitary system.
it was just
It
the,
has to be.
it was just the rentals, basically.
Yeah, there's really, what it did is threw it underneath, I believe, conditional use permit under. No, I don't know why I can't find that.
Because the tourist rooming house was up to 12 occupants and the transient lodge was 9 to 12.
It's on page 8 under the general, so under the farther, second part of our packet. So yeah,
And
that's where that's where it's struck, and then it was
Yeah.
moved back to the general.
Yeah.
Yeah, like it. I'm just what's curious as far as is that can we even have that language?
In the general, I think should be changed. It needs to be changed, correct?
Right. That I do think it's in a direct conflict of the right to rent law.
Correct.
Yeah.
In blue.
In
In blue.
And yeah, it looks like when we get to, I mean.
Well, sorry if I jumped ahead. since we were talking about the tourist rooming houses,
Yeah, that makes sense. And I see what you're finding now, that it looks like it's not mentioned under any of the districts in there. So it is kind of like, well, I think now I know why, is because the definitions were used for both ordinances and it's in Shoreland.
Yeah.
I think that's why it was, now if we break it apart, if it's not even in general, it could potentially just get removed completely. Unless, depending on how tourist rooming house definition is used in the general, if there's a person cap on it and the committee wants to have a bigger cap for a conditional use permit or transient lodge, that could be something that's done. But otherwise, I'd say if you just take the transient lodge definition away, everyone would be following the tourist rooming house definition, which says up to 8 people, I believe.
up to 12.
12, it does say.
Yeah, maximum of 12.
Actually, it is
Well, up to
8.
8
Up
from
to
11
8
to
overnight
7. Yeah.
12 during the day.
during the day.
Mhm.
So that's where I think could be a discussion to have, because if someone does have a large dwelling that can fit over 12 people,
Right.
keeping it without an option, it would just be, you can only have 8 people max
Right.
overnight. Or you could put it back in, if you want it to be a conditional use. If you don't, you could put it back in there to decipher between that number of people difference.
Right.
When you
Based on
get,
your bedroom.
when you get to that transient lodge, what's the difference between that and a motel or a hotel?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's still, because it's still a residential
Right.
unit being used as a rental rather than
Licensed
like a
motel.
hotel as a commercial business.
It's still a single family dwelling, but it's
Yeah.
almost commercial. Yeah, so it's,
Yeah.
where do we
It's a
say it's
fine line.
commercial? Yeah, where does commercial kick in?
And there was that big one on Balsam Lake, where I think there was
Oh, yeah.
like up to 20 some people that
Yeah.
could be there. So I'm guessing that's where some of this came.
That's
from.
right.
Like, if you're gonna have over so many people, you're gonna have to come through for a conditional use. So then the public's notified and everybody can come in and there'd be a hearing and everything on
Yeah, the hearing.
someone that wants 25 people in their tourist rooming house or transient lodge at that point.
All right, what else did we have that? The substandard lots, you That's 4213,
Where you at, Ken?
page 14 of 57 in the back. Talking about substandard lots.
I know,
That red is in there.
I know I jumped, but did we want to go back to just the shoreline stuff?
That's what I meant. I think that's.
No,
No, you're in general.
You're in general.
You're in general.
I went too far.
So, because I jumped, that was my fault. I
You
apologize for that.
All right, let's go back to.
On page 20 in the first set, if there's questions as far as if we want things. You know, you've got industrial prohibited, non-metallic mine and required conditional use on page 20 of 40.
Okay.
Yes, on the first set.
It's all red.
So that's where with the document I passed out. And if that, all that language wants to remain in the ordinance, I think it would probably be best to look something like that, you know, an allowed use, change of use, conditional use. If all of these are gonna be in there, I think that's
That they'd be listed more like the handout.
correct.
Okay.
So I think that's one of the decisions, is what that content is gonna look like.
Okay.
So that in the tourist rooming house, there is only 2, 4, 6 restrictions. Went back to that instead of that one first.
On this.
In the handout. if you
Yeah.
look. On the, almost the last page. It's got A through F.
Yeah, so you can look at the content in this one. It's more of a layout of how it would look. And then you decide if you want the current content that's in our ordinance, or yeah, I mean, you could potentially
Go back.
go back to any content you would like. Obviously, that one doesn't have any of the, you know, right to rent A's or anything in
Yeah,
there.
it doesn't have the language for that in there.
But yeah, just so you guys are aware, like, this isn't really proposed language to you guys. This is just a true layout of
This is the layout.
it would, should probably look like. It looks like it would work well, and they had it like that for a while, so.
So otherwise it's A through Q, isn't it?
Right.
Yeah,
Because the first one I see is there's no pets.
Yeah. And the license number and advertising, the license number should be on there, advertising wherever it is. And some of that's in here. Yeah, all pets. Well, this has in Q too, where they, if they're doing it without a permit, we didn't have that in there before.
Inspection from the, no, once a year, I thought we.
Yeah, I think that's up here where they have to get all the other ones.
So how do you define, what's the difference between a bed and breakfast and a tourist rooming house?
so a bed and breakfast, I don't know if the definitions. in-
Well, it says you can have 20 people.
I think that's when you're,
Me too.
yeah, when you're in the residence, you're serving up rooms to people while you're still there, so.
And you're also serving them food, so that falls under a different type of licensing as well.
Okay.
So that's like more of you have individual rooms for rent rather than the entire structure. And yeah, there's some form of meat. I don't know if there has to be or if there always is. I guess I've never been to one, but I don't know
For
how.
more than 10 nights in a 12-month.
If they cook food for the public, you have to have a different license.
Yeah.
Through,
Right.
So
Through the public.
so that changes all that. All the church functions that had to have it. Stuff.
I guess the main thing would be, yeah, that right as in the definition, it's the owner's personal residence, not just one they own to rent maybe, but it's they're living there. That's their main residence.
Okay. It says the owner's living there at the time of the rental,
Yeah.
but But they can rent it out for more than 10 nights in a 12-month period.
That's when it triggers licensing.
At 10 nights, after 10 nights,
That's how I read it.
it doesn't mention licensing.
To rent to more than 20 tourists or other for more than 10 nights.
Yeah.
So if you do it less than 10 nights, then you would just be doing it for fun. Basically, that's your threshold. Or you'd be called a bed and breakfast
Okay, okay.
under that 10 nights.
So they could rent it for 365 days a year then, right?
If they're a licensed bed and breakfast.
Yeah,
Yeah, if they're licensed, yeah.
Keyword.
Licensed.
yeah. It doesn't mention the word license under the definition, but
No, but I think just about every use is, you have to get a license. Somewhere usually.
The bed and breakfasts are referenced in as far as uses, potential uses in like R1, right? That as far as accepted uses, aren't bed and breakfasts in there?
yeah, and they are.
Oh, yes, bed and breakfast for R1. Require a land use permit.
It's not in the shoreline, but we didn't exempt any towns with their own zoning, did we? Did we take that back out again?
Yeah, it's not currently in there.
That's something we should put back in there, at least for the 4 towns that have their own.
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely up to the committee. The 2019, version that was certified didn't have any town exemptions in it. As far as I'm aware, we don't have any certification with it in there. So, but that's not to say you can't put it in there. But I think the certification process would then be telling of what, if it's can be in.
Say yes or no, and then we know.
Right.
Yeah.
Corporate council.
Apologize, what's the question?
To exempt the 4 towns with their own zoning. Instead of say exempt, how did you?
Specifically under the general purpose district.
The language that I used would require us to continue to have the different zoning areas within our shoreland. So it requires, the language that I crafted anticipated that we would still have a town zoned area.
Okay.
So if we're getting rid of that, then my language is not.
So currently this red version that we have right now is saying that town zoned areas
Would still have to go by this.
would have, no, you're saying they would be exempt. Clarify what we currently are looking at.
I think I can clarify. So this current draft is not what Joe was talking about.
Yeah.
He's talking about when we still had residential RA5, all those zoning districts, and at the bottom we had town zoned, and then
Right, okay,
he was mentioning the town zone in, however you want to say it,
Okay.
they weren't applying to town zoned areas.
Okay.
So I think your question would, from what I'm getting, is you're wondering if there's a way to put that in there with the way this looks right here.
because that's what, I mean, basically that's what Kim's asking, is that if
Yeah.
we have this general purpose district under our shoreland, is there an option to have that town zone district as well? Or separately, or is it an option? Because right now, the way it's drafted, if I'm understanding the way it's drafted right now, this is an overlay for everyone.
Yes, yes.
So that's why I'm asking.
So is there an option rather than, because my understanding was our snag originally is that we put town zoning way up on top and said town zoning didn't have to worry about any of the shoreland, and we can't do that.
Right.
So can we put it down as far as on a general purpose district? Can we go down to town zoning within the general purpose district?
I think the DNR's problem was that we were specifically exempting particular areas of the county from general regulations in the shoreland area. That's what the DNR had an issue with.
Okay.
Was the structure of the language.
Because the towns still have to follow shoreland zoning.
No matter what, yeah.
I mean, that's
But
not,
what do we put in shoreland zoning? That's the
Yeah.
big snag.
Just step on them and not, and let them have their own.
My legal opinion was that I did not see specific issue with the language that we had in our ordinance as it was previously drafted. I did not see a problem with that exemption. The DNR is the one that said they have a problem with that exemption. So it's hard for me to say that that's a problematic thing to do.
Okay.
I think it could be in there, but the DNR is of the opinion that it can't. And so I think a consideration is you could put the language in there with the exemption and send it to the DNR and see what the DNR says when we send it for certification. And then if they come back and say, no, you need to change this, and they redline it, then we can address it then. My opinion has always been that I don't specifically agree with the DNR on that topic. And so if you wanted to add it, I think you can.
Thank you.
And just,
That's something we probably should add.
yeah.
What was that new law that I didn't get to you to get that reference, that they, at the last meeting when they referenced that?
Oh, you're
Remember that
talking
hot
about,
button?
they're talking about splitting the townships,
Yeah.
splitting that this part of the township could be zoned under this and this part,
Yeah.
right? That's what
Yeah.
you're talking about.
Yeah. Did you ever find any more of that or not?
So I didn't look more into it because again, I don't think it really.
It doesn't apply
applies
yet.
To what we're trying to accomplish here. It really is, my understanding, a regulation that allows a town to say a portion of the town can follow these regulations where this portion of the town won't. And that doesn't really, that's not going to be anything that's going to fall under our,
Doesn't sound like a good idea.
that's a decision for the towns. That's not a decision. for us.
Exactly.
Yeah, I know.
Exactly.
But it doesn't,
Right.
So,
no.
well, I think, do you think, what can we put in here to exempt that then?
What, Joe?
What would be the wording? Do you
well, and
think?
Chair, just for a point of clarification, we were going down a path where we were separating out the two ordinances, like having the shoreline or, overlay and having it separate. But there was no direct, like, we're for sure doing this. It was, let's take a look and see what it looks like. Is that
Yes.
correct?
Yeah, we're looking at
So-
both ways.
So we still have on the docket, the initial, ordinance that we have right now, that you had put some town language back in. You certainly could still, the fact that we had the letter from Sue Vandenlingen and the DNR saying like, no, it can't be in there, doesn't mean that you still couldn't send it to them to see certification more formally.
And
But
it's just an opinion from her too. So I
just to
mean,
clarify, then that means that we're not, we're taking a look at what this looks like, but then that's kind of going back. I just want to make sure we know the two paths we have, like, right? That's a crossroads if we were to separate the ordinances out or if we were to keep them together and
Yeah.
keep the town language in. Which again, that wasn't staff, that wasn't anybody that put that in there. Obviously, that was the recommendation from the DNR. And the
Right.
committee is certainly at liberty to try to keep that in there. Their comment was all lakes and all bodies of water are treated the same. You can't treat this body of water different than you treat that body of water. So that was, I think, their ultimate point.
Just adopting our ordinance from the, that was sent to us.
That's up to the committee too. And again, you're discussing history and decades of public hearings and public comments and things of that nature. So, but yeah, there's all sorts of different options.
The language that I had proposed in what was previously discussed with the different zoning areas within shoreland was that the provisions of whatever
4219,
applies to these particular zones.
and number 14, it didn't, yeah.
It essentially accomplished the same thing that our current ordinance accomplishes in a different through a different
Two
mechanism.
different left.
I don't know that that would get past DNR either, but it's a different way to accomplish the same thing. And if the DNR's concern, I say her because we
Right.
have the opinion of one person, but if the DNR's concern was that we were exempting sections, we wouldn't be exempting anyone at that point. We would be saying it applies here and it doesn't apply there, just like any zoning
Yeah.
ordinance applies. So
Okay.
I don't know that it would get past scrutiny anymore.
But it doesn't hurt to,
But again,
I mean, the
my original-
one person might be a different person by the time we
Yeah.
get through all this. You never
I mean,
know.
that's it. It goes to a full board that would go that,
Right.
Yep.
the reason these people have their own zoning is so they got some control, even though the county has to do the shoreline. But I mean, it would still,
Or mandated to.
I think it would make it easier for everyone the way it sounds. I mean, then we'd still be controlling the on-zone lakes that don't want to have anything yet, but we haven't really heard from those towns if they want to jump in, jump out, do whatever, yeah. Just lake districts, so.
I think it would make sense to put Joe's language in there, accomplishing.
I think so.
Yeah.
Send it up.
I
So
think
send it off
What do you
and
do?
see.
I guess the only thing is this is personal and I can go with whatever. I personally like the idea though of separating. I think it's cleaner to separate the districts out and then have the overlay. I'm also still okay with having language somehow, if that's a third district or however we want to say it, saying the town district is, we have general purpose and then town, however we want to list that under there. But I just think it makes things a lot cleaner if you because I've also felt like that was part of the issue. It's like we had to change all these districts because you can't be more restrictive in shoreland and all these districts were and so we were trying to meld something that wasn't really very meldable. But I think I think there's a benefit to having the general and the districts separate, but then address our concerns in the general purpose district and shoreland with the overlay, with adding a town language somewhere.
With adding that town one on there.
Basically, I like the updates to the document. Other than I think there is some valid concern and a valid point to add the town language and let them throw it back out.
Yeah, and unfortunately, if they do throw it back out, I mean, that comes back to the county to say, well,
Then we keep trying.
yeah, or we,
One
They
thing I-
they should give us a suggestion of which way to go then, like they did in 19. They'd give us 7, 8 pages of stuff and they picked through it. Even this last one, a little bit that she went through.
One thing
A
I
lot
do
of it's opinion.
that I do think we could clarify that wasn't in
Too bad.
previous iteration
Yeah.
is that basically if a town has opted out of county zoning or I guess hasn't opted in or has opted to have their own zoning now, we could clarify that all of those towns would fall under zone 30. And the language there now seems to indicate that that would be the case, but it's not really clear that they are basically automatically, if you're going to opt out of county zoning, you're going to drop into zone 13. And we can make that clearer. I think there was some confusion based on what I heard from the towns about that mechanism. So I think there could be language that clears that up a little bit more to quell any concern on the part of the towns, but that's again, assuming that you're going back to away from the overlay and going back to our 14 zones or.
But that would be then taking the unzoned towns out too, right? Which I think is something that's been brought up, but just.
Potentially,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
It depends on what you want to do.
Yeah.
So, there's that.
I'm thinking like Pam, I think they should be back separated and that to show that that they have their own zoning.
And it should be towns just that are zoned. Our
Yeah.
previous ordinance did not, I mean, if they were unzoned, they just fall under counties,
Zoning,
they
yeah,
fall
under shoreline is all.
county application,
Yeah.
period. They want to go through the work of having their own zoning, have at it. Good, I mean, I've got no problem with that. I think that's great, but I think there's responsibility with that and the towns that have done it have done that. So.
yeah, and there's diligence. I mean,
Right.
St. Croix Falls, every time they update their ordinance, we get notice of it.
Yeah,
I mean,
and
there's
they're
there's
doing it.
statutorily guided processes when you have your own zoning and the
Right.
county through the comprehensive planning process and all of that is it gets notice of those changes as they occur too. So some towns, we haven't seen very many, changes to the ordinances, and some towns are, through
And that-
resolution, very diligent. Yeah.
So what do we think?
So long as your conditions that are over and above what the general shoreland requirements are
Apply to the water.
comply with the fact that they are related to the,
Preserving water
Senate
quality.
protection.
thank you. It doesn't matter whether they're town zoned or not town zoned or county zoned. We should be legally compliant.
Say that one more time, Joe, just a little louder. I'm sorry, I just.
Yeah.
So what I said is, so long as we make sure that anything that we add over and above the minimum requirements of the shoreland ordinance are related to the preservation of the lakes, and we have a good justification for that, we are perfectly fine, regardless of whether we have those exemptions for the town. We're adding those exemptions for towns because that's what the board
It's asking for.
theoretically, if we, is asking for.
Yeah.
Asking for.
Right.
We're asking about it anyway.
Not because we have to,
Right.
No, yeah, because it's, yeah.
regardless of what
Yep.
commentators have said,
Right.
would be because we want to, not because we have to.
All right, so to keep it moving. See, we want to go to that with, where it was the 14, so that those are exempt. And separate them. Do we want to kind of go back that way after we looked at this one this way?
Who's it?
That the shoreline in general are separate.
Oh, yeah.
Is that consensus then? So.
And then,
staff-
it would be back to where Joe had the language where the towns are exempt.
There would be an added language.
Or
Yeah,
for the
yeah.
language that was in that one.
I don't think,
Well, he'd add a
I don't
little.
know if you two are on the same page exactly. I think you're still wanting this, but an exemption with it. You
Right.
don't want the zoning district broke out, or at least what you're mentioning. Kim is talking about going back to the 14 zoning districts and not the general purpose.
You want the districts in the shoreland?
I would rather see the districts in there because then it
Oh.
gives it more flexibility, I think. I don't know. What does everybody think? Or do you want it just general?
I mean,
Well, we would still have to have the town one.
The general overlay,
Yeah.
we would have to come up, we would either have to adopt the same language that is in our current ordinance and either that language or try to construct some other exemption language. I've already been told by DNR that they don't like the language that's in there now.
right.
So most likely I would have to try to come up with a different way to do it.
So what would be the easiest, what would your recommendation be? Put the districts
The
back?
easiest for me is to go back for the 14 zones because I've already come up with that language. And I think it's a novel, we haven't been told by the DNR that that mechanism isn't going to be
work.
effective.
Mm.
See, that's what I'm thinking, that there's different zones to that.
I don't
If you have
know.
a commercial one, that's already there, commercial, it could be used as that.
Right, but then we
Without
have,
saying just general,
but then we have all these zoning districts underneath shoreland.
yeah, just in the zone parts, yeah.
But,
We
but
get most
all
of,
these zoning districts underneath shoreline. So then they all have, because that was part of the whole rip apart that, well, you can't have a setback for different for this building because you can't be more restrictive under the model, so that was some of our changes that we had to make too. And that's why I thought,
that still refers back to the districts it's in, that's an overlay. If it's a residential, those setbacks are there. If it's a commercial district, those setbacks,
but you can't make them, they had to be,
only the minimum is in there. They only have from the water. They don't have side setbacks or anything in there.
Right.
So that ours would cover it.
Okay.
See what I'm, do you see how I'm
I
looking at it?
do, yeah. We're just going to agree to disagree as far as what I think is simpler. That's all.
The bottom's
I
got-
don't think we disagree on the process, on the whole over,
But
like,
which
the
way to get
concept,
there,
but how to get there.
how to get there.
Because I think what Pam is saying is if you're in the shoreland and in a county zoned area, you're gonna have two different residential zoning districts that you have to look at. And
Yep.
then determine if one's more restrictive, you go with whatever one it is, which can be done, but yeah, it is a little bit sometimes it can be, depending on the language, it gets a little bit tricky for people to read it and they're like, all right, I'm meeting this shoreline, but then their general has this language. It's like, well, no, you have to follow this, even though you're following both ordinances if you're
Yeah.
underneath both, layered.
But we're really throwing everything into general to cover all the 14 districts. That's what's gonna.
Throwing everything into general.
There's a lot in there.
The important question is, I mean, we've been using the 13 or 14 districts for 6 years now. 7 almost.
How many problems have we had?
How many problems have we had?
Yeah, I mean, I think the confusion definitely comes in with unzoned towns because we gave them a zoning district when they don't have zoning. So when someone comes in for a rezone in an unzoned town, the town's like, we don't have zoning. Why are we giving our opinion on a rezone when we don't have zoning? So that's where part of that has been confusing, having all the zoning districts in the shoreland and then they're applying in unzoned towns. Whereas a general shoreland purpose would have just, that's your district. It's not broken down, but I mean, I don't think it's terrible. You know, it's not like it's been impossible to work through, but there is some confusion, having all the zoning districts, and maybe that can be cleared up with additional language, but.
Because if it's only the unzoned, it's only 4 of them, isn't it? 4 zoned,
4 towns.
4 towns. But I thought we had everything like under a class 1 lake, 300 feet residential. That's what the model says. They want everything within so many feet residential is preferred. Some of that things too, so. Right. Well, how do we want to get there? Do we want to do the 14 or do we want to do a general? I guess that's the biggest question, isn't it?
But with a general, would we then have to add something for the towns? Correct.
You would either have to use the language that's currently in our ordinance and see what the DNR formally says, because right now we have
An opinion.
their
Opinion.
and we could send it to them and see what they formally say about that language. Or I could try to come up with a different mechanism to do it. And I haven't tried to do so, so I don't know whether I would be able to or not able to. I imagine that it is not likely that I'm gonna come up with any new idea that hasn't been thought of by my predecessor. So I would say if you choose that way, that's fine, but you would likely be looking at the language that's already in there
Okay,
in order to accomplish those exemptions.
okay.
You accord it an exemption, but not call it an exception. That's what we're trying to do. Okay. All right.
Can I just say something?
Go ahead, Doug.
I'm not sure I can get this out correctly, but in my district, I don't have Bone Lake, but I've got Bone Lake. I don't have Balsam Lake, but I've got Big Round Lake. And everyone's concern is that these unzoned towns or the unzoned town of Georgetown
Yeah.
isn't gonna, the lake should stay the way they are. That's what they want. They want the county to have control over Bone Lake, which 3/4 of it or 2/3, whatever it is, we've talked about this amongst the management district and Bone Lake or the Bone Lake board, your town board. And what they want is to end up just go back to what currently, because we haven't had a lot of problems with it. Lake should be just zoned what the county zoning is, because they're unzoned, so they aren't gonna do anything with their lake. Georgetown is.
Now, is that the Lake Association or the town? So the town,
Is not gonna zone.
Well, the town can opt in for county zoning then.
yeah. But can a lake district
No.
No.
come in? They can't do it, huh?
No,
That we know of?
no, they cannot.
They cannot zone themselves, the lake
No, the
district.
only-
Town still has to do it.
No, the only governing body that can opt in out of county zoning is the town.
Town.
with the idea that the lakes always are protected through NR 115 with county oversight.
Yeah,
So I mean, yeah. Well, we could try to, if you do the overlay concept or separate them out, you know, I guess Corporation Council can try to find some language to send to the DNR. And then at the time, if the DNR responds and says no, then the county will have to try to find some different language. Or just accept that,
To
yeah, or just accept that.
this one that had 13 zones.
Yeah.
And then the town unzoned would still fall under county like they have for the last 10 years.
yeah.
Unzoned have been under county for shoreland for the last 10 years
Actually forever.
or whatever, however.
And we've heard from people making public comment that, well, nothing requires us to have a certified ordinance. It's true. But we've talked about a couple of different times what the DNR's options are if we don't have a certified ordinance.
Exactly.
We want to make sure that we're in control of our ordinance.
Yep.
It's best to have one that's certified.
Certified,
That's-
yeah,
yeah,
so we can
right.
maintain.
Relying on the fact that the DNR just won't act is not
Not an assurance.
a good long-term plan for any governing body.
That's not permission.
You can do it, but it's not, in my opinion, good governance.
Integrity, honesty, accountability.
Yeah. All right, so how do we want to move that? Want to do with the districts or not, or go with the general overlay? I mean, I think with the districts and they can be exempted, I think separating. What do you think, Logan? Would it be easier to handle or not
I mean,
in the department?
anytime you have more districts, it's not easier to handle, I wouldn't say, but I don't think it's,
But I mean, if they're already there
But you've already
existing,
do it.
yeah, it's what it is now.
It's what it is now.
yeah. I mean, it's boom, you come in, you're in residential, here's what you can do.
Right, so you'd be looking at the language we currently, in the draft from March 4th with our changes to landscaping and retaining wall,
Yeah.
right? I had one other question I had that was added, but I mean, but for the most part, that's what you're proposing, Kim, that we go back to this language with the additional landscaping
Exactly.
and retaining wall language.
The town language in there.
Right, because
Yep.
13 is town zoned, at least in this draft, number
Yeah.
13.
So it's 13 or 14 in that one, yep.
Yes, this is
Yeah.
from the 4th. This
Yeah,
is not
that's
the
what you've already conducted public hearing.
Yeah.
Right,
You.
right.
But we still could send it,
But we need Joe's changes.
yeah, or no,
The only potential change that I would have is maybe adding language that would clarify whether towns that have already opted into their own zoning would automatically drop into zone 13. I don't think that would be such a substantial change. Require another public hearing. You could have another public hearing if you want to be absolutely sure that, hey, we made a change and we want people's opinion on that one additional change.
we send it to the DNR though before that. Let's send it, see if they would even certify it.
It has to get sent through resolution though.
It's got to go through resolution, right? Don't I have
To
to
go to the
We
DNR.
have to
pass it at the county?
we pass an ordinance.
Then it-
That comes, you can set it to become effective at a later date. But you could pass the ordinance and that becomes our ordinance.
Right,
Effective date is the day you pass it. That then is what gets applied, and then it goes through the certification process. So there's always a period where your ordinance, if you make it effective on the day you pass, there's going to be a period where it's not certified.
Right.
It's going through the certification
Yeah.
process, but it's not yet certified. The certification adds no ability to the ordinance, adds no legal backing to the ordinance. All it does is if you get it certified, the DNR cannot go through their statutory mechanism to then force you to do what they want you to do.
Right.
That's all certification really means.
That's okay.
We're telling you this is fine, and that when we tell you it's fine, we can't now go through the process to now force you to change it. It doesn't add anything in terms of enforceability to your ordinance.
I'm sorry, Joe, it's just, this whole system is just.
Then
unbelievable.
why even send it to them?
Yeah.
At the end of the day, they have the
We
big.
should send it to them. I'm just saying, it's just, it kind of goes in circles.
Well, that's it. I mean, we send it to them, they don't approve it, now we gotta do it over again. That's what I'm saying, or what they don't want, we gotta stop, take it in and out.
Or updated.
What?
Just send them the wrong order.
Yeah, I don't know. All right. What are we thinking?
Because it would be so the public hearing that was held had those districts in there.
Mhm.
Retaining wall, landscaping, those were both added. Or
Have been added since.
have been added since, because I think those were added during that working meeting, right? I'm trying to remember what.
Because
Yeah.
this is the first time we've actually seen it in writing,
Yeah,
Yeah,
because we were just discussing it at the working.
Well, this particular agenda item is obviously not for action. There's no action. There's no actionable item. It's just a discussion.
just a discussion, yeah.
The resolution 826, amending the Code of Ordinances, Chapter 42, Article 3 is,
That's shoreland.
That's shoreline.
that's where your
I
action
thought we
would
wanted
take
subdivision on here to run that back through. Okay.
So I can touch on that quick,
Okay.
since it's on discussion regarding subdivision. That resolution died
Correct.
at the county board. If you want to bring up that resolution again, you're gonna have to go, in my opinion, you're gonna have to go through the entire process again, meaning we'll need a new petition, need a new public hearing. You'll need to, I mean, you can put the exact same thing forward, nothing says you can't. But in order to get it through the process again, because the resolution died, my opinion is that it needs to go through the entire process again. So we'll need a new petition, we'll need a new public hearing, we'll need all of those things before it can get back up to the county board.
for subdivision. You're
Subdivision.
saying?
Did I say something else?
No,
Sorry.
no, you didn't.
Oh, you did, but I was just clarifying.
Sometimes I say the wrong thing, so that's
Okay.
perfectly fine.
So are we still on? division then?
Yeah.
Or we're done with shoreline?
well, we'll get to resolution here.
So we're clear on what we're gonna do with shoreland.
And that applies to the shoreland resolution as well. If you send that up and the board says no, if it gets put to a vote on yay or nay, and it's no, there are other options, but if that's what happens, then it dies.
Yeah.
That resolution dies, a new petition, a new,
Then our current resolution is, our current ordinance is still in effect.
right.
Yeah, doesn't change. Yep.
Currently then regulate everything except the town zoned properties.
Correct.
Correct. Yes.
In those specific exemptions that we lay out.
Yeah,
That are in the current ordinance.
because they still have to follow shoreland zoning. They just those pieces
They
that,
just, they can't enforce it. The county has to enforce it over there.
Yeah.
now. Yeah, but their districts underneath
are different.
are different
Yeah,
that they control
so for uses and,
for uses and, yeah. Okay.
I guess if we're still under shoreline, there was one thing that, and I don't know if it makes it a substantial change and it wouldn't be otherwise, maybe it's not worth it, but there may be some purpose to add language that states that no permits will be granted unless a property is in compliance. I've seen a lot of counties have that because then you have some way to get them in compliance, maybe if they're looking to expand on whatever they're doing, but just a topic to bring up that is somewhat common. But
Might take
and where would that go? Where would
That
that
would be an
go?
enforcement.
that would be down under the actual, I think it'd be under,
Was under
I
enforcement.
think we had talked about this.
It would have to go into,
Compliance in order to
Yeah, it would have,
act
yeah,
on.
that enforcement. Where's,
I think it would be under administrative provisions like,
okay. It's page 36.
but like
36?
that I can,
Yeah, 36 and 40, that page.
Yeah,
Isn't
Right,
that our
because
standard?
regardless,
yeah.
you would need to get. So you would apply for a permit, you would say, no, you can't get the permit, you need to go get a variance or into compliance. Okay, I went and got a variance now. Now can I have the permit? Yes, you can, because now it's in compliance, or now I changed where things are located, so now I can get a permit. Right,
Yeah, or like if if we've been working on a property for years for some other violation, in order for you to now, it would,
and now they want to go build a deck.
yeah, or- yeah,
Okay, well, you have 60 tires, get rid of the tires and you can build your deck.
but like I said, just bringing it up, it may help with compliance, but it may also not be a good idea. Not sure.
But because our current process would be, you're not in compliance, you'd have to go get a variance. And then whether or not they're able to get the variance, if they get the variance, basically, I'm just restating what you just said, right?
Yeah.
That's our current process.
Right, and so what Logan's saying is, let's say we have a property that has been cited for being a junkyard because they have
Right. Jump.
60 tires out there. They go and apply to build a shed. They would be granted that permit to build a shed because, well, the shed is in compliance. Your property's not in compliance, but the shed theoretically would be in compliance, so a permit would be granted, is how we would currently operate.
Got it.
But in order to get compliance through the property as a whole, you could add the language that says you need to have your property in compliance
Compliance.
for everything in order.
Or you build another shed or, okay.
Now, there are good sides of that. It brings property in compliance, but there's downsides to that too. If you were to do something like that, because people will say, well, all right, well, I'm not going to bring it into compliance, so now I'll just build my shed and not get a permit.
Right.
Right. It's,
Get another citation.
right.
Hey,
And
Yeah.
keep going, yeah.
So it removes the incentive to follow
the process.
law, the process correctly if you're already not in compliance. So it works both ways.
Yeah,
Right.
for sure.
There's positives and negatives.
Because if you had a shed that's unpermitted, you come in for another shed, you could then say, well, you need to permit this one that you didn't get a permit for before we're gonna give you another shed or permit another shed. But like you said, it can work both ways, or well, and I'm just not gonna get one for this either, which then it just sits in compliance, but so it's.
Without the language in there, can you administer it as such? I mean, can you administer it where it needs to come into compliance regardless, Joe? You don't think you can?
I don't believe so, because if the ordinance, applying for a permit, if you're in compliance with all
Yeah.
the regulations, if the ordinance doesn't specifically delineate that you can't be granted it, it's a permissive.
Okay. Just a
What
question.
You have to
Right,
get the
you'd have
permit.
to.
Like a CUP, if you could meet all the conditions,
You can't stop them.
you
Yeah.
can stop them, yeah.
Have you seen that, Logan? On occasions where there's a non-compliant?
So this one wouldn't handle that.
I mean, I'm sure we have, I guess I don't have any specifics, but,
Well,
Just asking.
I'm sure there's been many properties where we've issued a permit and there's unpermitted
Yeah,
structures
36.
out there that.
So it is on page 36 of 40. So section 42-337A, number 2, issue permits and regular inspections of properties for compliance with this article. Does that not cover it? Cover it?
I don't think that's, I think that's just stating you're inspecting. I don't think it's saying you can't issue another permit. It's just saying that that's a duty of issuing permits and we are to regularly inspect properties for compliance. But it doesn't say if you aren't in compliance, you can't get a separate permit, but.
It appears maybe council could help, would allow that to be interpreted that way though, like, cause you're inspecting for
for
compliance.
compliance.
Yeah, that's what I read it as.
So it's certainly,
Too vague, so you gotta add another line.
certainly possible to interpret it that way.
Yes.
I also don't know that that's my first blush at the idea. I haven't researched it, so I don't know. But
If I was the attorney,
it seems like a viable option to make a property come into compliance to issue further.
It does make sense to
It does seem
before
like
you keep going, yeah.
an arguable defense.
Compliance with this article.
And that was I don't know what this article means, you know.
All this stuff.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
that pile of papers we got walking around.
it's not all of them.
All right. Is that all we have for shoreline then?
Yeah, I mean, I guess I don't know when the other language that was added under general provisions, if it goes back to the 14 districts, probably just best to take those out with it, I would guess, unless, I mean, it all depends on if we're deeming it a substantial change from the public hearing or not, but, and
I don't know if you've had any changes. Have there been any other changes other than what I proposed for the
two definitions.
the specifically delineating that towns would drop into zone 14 if they have their own zoning? Other than that change, are there any other changes that have been considered and are being put in?
so I'm trying to think of the timeline, because yours was in the actual public hearing, right?
Yes.
I believe it was, so
Yeah.
that wouldn't be something.
Yes,
that
because
should
that's
be
March 4th.
after.
My exemption language was, but this additional concept of really clarifying that towns automatically are going to be deemed as falling into 14, that there is no additional step that towns need to take to get that accomplished.
Do you think that's substantive? Do you think that's?
I said I don't think that it's substantive such that it would require a public hearing, but to be absolutely sure, public hearing is always going to be the safest way, which would require you to have another meeting. If you want it to go in the April
Well, we
4th,
could add the two definitions. Could you add what he just said to that one? You're adding, and then have a public hearing. That would be the only changes. Would be the landscape retaining wall.
I'll add the retaining wall language.
Yeah,
And then the
Yeah.
clarification. Towns out. Then maybe that compliance issue, a line on that and just
Put on for.
do those things
Have a-
and have a public hearing.
Okay.
I think, don't you think we should do that?
better to be safe than sorry.
I think so.
What were the,
I
did
see.
you write them down, Logan?
Not all of them, retaining wall, landscaping,
Compliance comment.
The compliance comment, maybe to add a line, and then the
And then the automatic dropping in.
automatic dropping, the language for that. Yeah.
So then any other additional language that was added in the districts?
Oh,
in the-
vegetative buffer was added too.
that was after the.
I think so. Let's make sure that definition's in there. I just seen that.
It sounds like we were gonna need a public hearing no matter what.
Yeah.
So then.
Yeah, I think,
Because the public hearing, did that had the town reduce road setback
Oh, yeah.
in it, right?
yeah,
Okay, so,
at the
because in
towns,
this one, we had it crossed out, but we'll just leave it in there.
the towns, yeah, for the reduced setbacks go to the towns.
Because we had mentioned just taking all the setbacks out, but we can leave it in there as that.
Yeah. Because that's, if they're gonna take it over, not deep in the public, they're private roads. They will fall into this.
I like that landscaping definition that you put in for too.
Thanks, Pam.
Much better than what it was before was,
So then, the new
Also,
boathouse one, was that in the one?
That's what I was gonna ask next. Is the boathouse, did that change during the public hearing, or was that
that was in the public hearing one,
That was in the public hearing.
changed from the first one to the second one?
width by 28 feet deep, maybe put up to a 2-foot apron that runs parallel. That was part of the public hearing one.
yeah. it
That was part of the public.
What about, sorry if I'm getting off track.
Go
What
right
about
down.
striking the transient lodge language? That is in that one. That was in the public hearing as well.
Striking that because it's just a definition.
Well, it's a definition, plus it's in direct conflict with the right to rent law.
Okay.
That's in general or in the shoreland?
Well, all
Shoreline.
depends on which version we're looking at. In the one that we had the public hearing on, it was in the definitions of the one in Shoreland for the public hearing. The March 4th version had the transient lodge.
So do you want to just take the language out that is not legal? And because there is a use underneath the, should be residential where we'd have to take it out of there too, and then it wouldn't be a use altogether.
Why did our transient lodge language change? So the March 4th has nothing about the timeframe, the months or anything. Transient lodge, single family, short-term basis with a maximum occupancy of 9 to 12 people at any time on the property. The maximum shall be a max of 2 tourist transits per bedroom based on sanitary system or knives, legal bedroom, whichever is more restrictive. Tourist rooming house, maximum of 12. When did that language get changed?
That might have been at the first part because it changed into the shoreline. So then we removed it because of the reason you're explaining. The general, we haven't actually removed.
From the general, okay.
Yep. There.
So we had the same word, 2 different definitions, depending on where it was.
Yeah, because one got changed when other things got
Okay.
updated. The general
Okay.
didn't get brought
Didn't
in.
get, thank you.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it is right on the public hearing then?
It is right on the public hearing one then.
Sweet.
Now, in the show, you got the use variance was in there too, is another definition. Authorized by the Board of Adjustment. Page 9 of 57.
You're in general, I think you're in general.
Generally,
Yeah.
I gotta go back to the front. Yep, I'm in general.
So if it's out of 40, it's the shoreland. If it's the 57 at the bottom, it's
It's general, all right.
I think from what I can see, I don't think there was any other, besides on this current document, page 10 of 40, where I had added in some more language from the model ordinance. And I don't, doing a public hearing anyway, I think it probably would be good to just have it in there since it's in the model. That would be 1, 3, B, and C, where they're straight from the model to clarify some language.
Sure.
I can,
That's at 281 and stuff, yeah, for that, okay.
I can add that to the new public hearing.
Yeah.
How about that number 5 then on page 11? Would that fit in there too? That's in red. I think it's some numbers.
I think that one was in there, right? I think I just highlighted it.
You might have highlighted
Is
that
it in the
one.
public hearing?
I lost track of where you were. Where are you looking at?
Page 11,
11.
5.
40, 11 of 40.
Yeah, 11 of 40.
General provisions.
Which, yep, sorry.
Right there.
5.
That I bet is new language.
That looks real good.
I
Yeah,
think it's new language.
yeah, I think you're right.
But just make sure it's in there. Like, if you add those other one in general provisions, make sure you add number 5. Or make sure if all of those are in there.
Yeah, I think they should be, but
Compliance.
Yeah. Got such a stack, I don't know where to look. Start a fire.
Big one.
A big one. I can try to keep them dated, but I didn't even bring them. Anyway, this one. All right, so that should get us through there, shouldn't it?
I think I got everything.
It is
Okay.
actually on the draft from the 4th.
Okay, perfect.
It is C5 on the 4th, on the draft from the 4th.
Okay.
The format of that document, how do you guys want that when it's sent out as a public hearing document? Just a clean copy of this is what we're proposing, or do you want
I would
some sort of the changes, and from when do you want the
make
changes?
copy in those right there on a separate page of the
So-
changes.
I think so. That'll be transparent.
Yeah, That would be a lot easier to follow.
So we had the, public hearing, first public hearing, second public hearing, just changes from between the second public hearing and now would be in red. Everything else is gonna be just clean version.
Just to clean it and have that,
Yep.
the ones that go down, just reference 4218, definitions, whatever.
Yep.
And just a separate page, what changes happen.
Joe, we're still in shoreline then.
They're bouncing around. It
Okay.
doesn't matter.
Okay.
No one projects.
Okay.
Okay. General, or leave it that alone then?
Well, there's a couple changes that need to be addressed in general.
Okay.
We talked about transient lots. Wait, we talked about removing something.
Yeah, the transient lodge language in the general.
Language, the retaining wall language in general, it is going to be defined in shoreland, but it will not be defined in general anymore.
Okay.
So we're removing that definition. It doesn't.
Doesn't apply. So that's marked.
So in this document, the things in blue are what we discussed way back when we initially opened up the general ordinance.
Okay.
The things in red would be things that were not discussed.
That existing development pattern, is that only in shoreline usually though? Or that's where that came from? Where the 250 feet proposed?
Yeah, I think it is.
It's in
I think it
shoreline.
is in general when it's explaining you can do setback averaging to the road as well.
Okay.
It might be in there in general, but yeah, otherwise we had anything that's only like boathouse, direct drainage, anything that's only in the shoreland area.
Yeah.
We had taken
Sure.
and moved it to the shoreland exclusively.
Okay.
So like some of the red changes, I think that we didn't talk about before were navigable, landscaping, ordinary high water mark. I have all those now crossed out because they're specifically for shoreland.
Yep.
The retaining wall, as you'll see, it's red and blue because we had talked about striking the blue, but now we're just gonna remove it altogether. The one thing and it's in blue on 8 of 57, our accessory structure definition, we use the same from the shoreland. So it still says retaining walls in there. So that might be a point of clarification to see how you guys want to handle that. If a retaining wall, because the way it's currently drafted, currently enforced, a retaining wall still needs a permit in the general area because it's underneath an accessory structure, and all structures need permits unless explain that they don't. So that was one thing that might be good to tie up or tie in, because there's nothing saying you don't have to have it in that definition, because it's not in the shoreland where you have to have it verbatim to the
Well,
definition.
then the walkways, stairways to surface water, that would come out too.
Yeah, so that could be,
That whole last line, the retaining walls, pedestrian walkways, stairways to surface water, that would come out.
Fences? Fences. Fences. Fences need a permit?
yeah, I mean, as it's written, yes. So I think we may want to come up with an accessory structure definition for general area,
General,
not just shoreland, or not just using the shoreland, if you want to, I mean.
If we want this to go to public hearing on May, because it's potentially all three ordinances could go to public hearing.
oh,
on
yes,
May
correct.
6th. So we would have to come up with that definition then now.
yep. So we should take fences out too then, in general, that whole bottom line, just go to gazebos. But then we'd have to go structure principle, take out stairway, walkway, do we do patio and decks? Retaining wall, porch, fire pit, that's all from that's all, the next one up is all from shoreline. Do we need a fire pit in general? porch, retaining wall, patio, deck, walkways, stairways, sidewalk.
You didn't them in there, what,
Don't, do you think? Yeah,
require a permit to put in a fire pit or a,
yeah. Well, boathouse would come out for sure, because there's no boathouse out in general, so they call it a bunkhouse.
I think we had that discussion before.
I thought we did too. So it would be from boathouse on, we would take all them out. So it'd just be a garage or a shed under a structure.
Principal structure or accessory structure like a garage.
Yeah, right above it there. So that would take those stairway, patio, walkway, fire pit, and then the next one down would just end at gazebos and take that fences, retaining walls, pedestrian walkway, stairway, surface to surface water out.
So underneath your first one, so you wouldn't, someone in the general district wouldn't get a permit anymore for a deck then? Off the house?
That doesn't sound,
Yeah.
Well, decks are sometimes
Cause
what
they, yeah,
you want to meet setbacks and
Okay. So you would go garage, shed, decks, but how about patios? No, but we don't need walkways, stairways, do we? In that one, I wouldn't think.
yeah, and I think it would,
are those
Like
just
an-
examples?
yeah,
It says structural, it says structural alter, or means a principal structure or any accessory structure, including garage, shed, boathouse, sidewalk, stairway, walkway, patio, deck, retaining wall, porch, or fire.
So there's still interpretive availability for the administrator. I mean, though, without those examples, all those examples, like if someone comes in with a plan, you know, you'd still be like, yeah, this is still an accessory structure. You know,
that's where I think it would need to be, you, because especially because accessory structure says it lists, but says not limited to, so just taking it out of that definition doesn't say you don't need a permit. I think you might need that somewhere else in the ordinance, right? That you don't need a permit for X, Y, and Z, if that's the route it goes.
So you're gonna still have a list, but you're going to remove a particular item from the list?
Well, boathouse, I would think in general.
Yeah, so it says, a subordinate structure which is incidental to and customarily found in connection with the primary use of the property, including but not limited to garages, sheds, barns, gazebos, fences, retaining walls. But if you took out like retaining walls and fences, that doesn't necessarily say that they don't need a permit, right?
Yes and no.
Yeah. It's,
Don't be a lawyer today. Come on,
Anytime
give
you
us a break.
include a list as examples, it complicates things.
Yes.
An argument can be made that if it's not part of the list, even if you say this isn't exclusive list, it can create
Ambiguity.
an argument that, well, it's not on the list. So if you want to make sure that it is something that is covered,
Leave it,
you want it to be in the list.
and then it could
If
be,
you're gonna have a list at all,
so you could exempt it later or whatever, or if they came in and asked, it would be something, okay, you don't need it because you're here. Is that what we're saying?
on the list, I don't think we could
Then you have to give a permit.
permit,
his obligation would be to follow
Right. To
Then you'd
permit.
have to give them a
Yeah.
permit.
correct?
unless an exemption on somewhere else within the ordinance exists.
you'd have to require a permit. Yes.
So we're going to require a permit for a fire pit. In general,
Well, it's
It's
on here.
it's
It's
listed
on the
here.
list. That's the problem.
that's the problem. I mean, where do you,
Yeah, because that definition is also from the shoreland area.
Yes, it
So
is.
that's where,
because it has boathouse, fire pit.
Yeah.
I mean, at least just can't see getting a permit for a fire pit.
and that's strictly because it was used in the same, all we did is had definitions that applied to
Yep.
both ordinances.
Both.
So they made it the shoreland.
Yeah.
And then it applied everywhere, whereas by separating them, you can, if you want, have different definitions.
Different definitions in
Yeah.
Or requirements.
that division, yeah,
Some fire pits, though, Kim, aren't just a ring.
yeah.
Those big, massive, fancy patio fire
Around it.
pits.
Yeah, get pretty big,
Yeah.
but they're not shoreline, so. I don't know,
Good question.
Why do we care? I mean,
yeah. All right,
This discussion before years ago. go and supervise the rules. And just one example is retaining walls.
Yeah,
You own your home of 10 acres and you have to have a permit along your driveway. I think I discussed before,
Yeah.
we've had 5 of them when I come to work this morning. And they go along their driveway and they do put up retaining wall to keep it from washing
washing on the driveway.
where they put in the culvert.
Yeah,
That's just one example. Why would you have to have a permit for that?
Agreed.
yeah.
On your own home? But
That retaining wall's not allowed in the right of way. For safety.
it's not in the
reasons.
right
Why
of way.
would that?
It's not in the right of way.
Come on.
It is or not.
It's a private culvert. Come on.
It's just something that's gonna
And he
wash.
came down 48 a different way. Don't tell him the way you drove.
That's funny.
So
But we should be able to
could
take
we-
boathouse fire pit out of that and I don't know.
could we combine structure and accessory structure since we've got accessory structure in the structure? Saying structure means a principal structure or any accessory structure included but not limited to a garage, shed, deck, patio, and gazebos.
But you need an accessory and a principal structure. So, and that's under principal structure, so that should only include,
But do we have to have a definition for an accessory structure?
yes,
I
because
think-
that's how the permits and
Okay.
things go and how many you can have.
Okay.
You know, how many buildings and stuff, I think is limited on the size of the lots and
I think it's listed out in the setbacks as accessory structures.
Yeah.
To separate between the two, so I think you would want to distinguish between the two because a principal structure would have 20 or sometimes 25, sometimes 10, and whereas a accessory structure would have could be 5.
5 feet.
But that's where underneath on page 47 of 57, I think that's the section, I think that's might be why I highlighted it. That's the section that you're kind of going up against in order to want certain structures to not need permits. It says, and except where another section of this chapter specifically exempts certain types of activities or development from this requirement. A land use permit shall be obtained from the zoning administrator before any activity or development, reconstruction, structural alteration, structural repair is initiated, including but not limited to building or structure or any change to a structure. So I think that's where you'd want to somewhere exempt things out if you don't want specific structures to need a land use permit. Does that sound?
In general,
If you're looking at statutory construction, I see no reason why the definition of structure needs to go beyond means a principal structure or any accessory structure, period.
Period.
Period, yeah.
The list seems to relate to the accessory structure portion, which there's already a list in the accessory structure. So there's no, it
Perfect.
doesn't add anything of value to the definition.
Yeah.
no, it doesn't.
Period. Good.
Okay.
And then on accessory structure, we'll just strike it after gazebos.
Take that fences, retaining walls, pedestrian walkways, stairways to the surface water. Just take the last line off.
Is that what we want to do? Question mark?
I generally don't like lists
Right?
personally. When I
That's
draft-
half.
when I
You got
draft,
half off.
when I draft contracts, I make sure that
So we just
lists are
end it
limited.
with.
And the reason again is because if you have a list, it creates the argument that,
Right.
well, it's not on the list, therefore, so
Sure. Can we just end it with property then?
Yeah, and it was property.
And are we too vague again? And we don't have good enough definition? Do we have to put it all back in there?
so.
It says, but not limited to garage, shed, barns, gazebos. That kind of, it's, so basically it's a building. Almost. Gazebo's the only one that isn't a building. Which is open side.
And so the additional problem with having a list is that it may incorporate similar types of structures, even though it's not listed, but if you do end it at
Property.
garage, shed, barns, gazebos, then you're essentially saying these other things, stairways, pedestrian walkways, retaining walls, because those don't really directly relate to any of those other items, you're creating a stronger argument that if we wanted to have them included in the definition of an accessory structure, it would be, it's easier to argue that they aren't included in the definition. So if at any point we thought a walkway fell into a different portion of the general zoning ordinance, and it was able to be enforced that way under our previous list, we may not be able to enforce it in the same way.
We're doing like the state. Every section has a different definition for the same word.
You could absolutely have accessory structure definition be means a subordinate structure which is incidental to and customarily found in connection with the primary use of the property.
Period.
I don't like lists.
I'm fine with that.
That wouldn't change anything with a permit being required though, I don't think. Where it says like in development, it describes development, and then in land use permits, it says all development needs a permit, just so that's clear. I think there needs to be other changes if the committee doesn't want land use permits for specific structures.
Sure. It's the change of the definition, especially if all you're doing is eliminating the list of examples of what an accessory structure is. The definition in good statutory construction should be good enough without a list for you to understand what you're talking about without the list being included.
Okay.
So it's not going to change the enforceability of anything if you eliminate the
You
list.
still have your standard operating procedure.
But that's what I want, because I think their understanding is that people don't need a permit for those, but if that's how they want that, I think we need to change other things is what I want to make sure is clear. Because right now, the way development and land use permit required is read, it's reading that all development, which when you go to the definition of development, which pretty much covers everything. Any land, what is it? Any man-made change to real estate, that's how it starts, and then starts listing off.
So
Again, but not
there's no
limited to.
example of an accessory structure. So what is an accessory structure? You know, like put a corner fence up, is that an accessory structure because it's man-made? That's what we're gonna, that's how we got down to some of these other ones. I mean, I don't know.
If you put a corner fence up,
Yeah,
that would be an accessory structure.
okay.
Fence up for my 10 cows, is that
Yeah.
an accessory structure?
Yeah,
So that needs a permit?
yeah.
Well, whether or not it needs a permit does not fall into the purview of a definition, right?
It's not.
Accessory structure found elsewhere, a definition is just saying, hey, when you see this word later, this is what it means.
This, okay?
That's another thing that we do have an issue with in not just zoning, but across the board with our ordinances is we have regulations within our definitions, which is not a great way to do things.
Right.
So cleaning those up is going to be something that we're going to be looking at going forward. Not really relevant, but the definition shouldn't be regulating anything.
Got it. Yep.
The definition is saying later, when you see these regulations, that's what this means.
Are
All
we
right.
done talking about that one?
Yep, let's go to the next.
Number 4, on page 4, where home business is added. It says number 1, conducted solely by a member of the resident family. And then if you go down to number 5, it says not more than 2 persons, not members of the resident family may be employed or otherwise contracted by such business. I mean, am I just reading it wrong? Because I read number 1 thinking,
Conducted solely.
yeah, conducted solely by a member of the resident family. Then number 5 says, but you can hire 2 people besides your family to work there.
Yeah, I don't know. That's obviously existing. And I think that's why I highlighted it, because I feel like it's not a great definition when we're trying to go through it, when people ask what it is.
Yeah.
But I didn't come up with anything yet that I would propose to change it to, I guess. I don't know. I guess I think you could potentially, and Joe can correct me if I'm wrong, but like conducting it means like you're the owner of the business, and then they're saying you can have 2 people that work underneath you, even though you're conducting or operating the business as the owner.
This is not new language. You just highlighted it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yes.
Got it.
And again, I didn't have any proposed to change it to, but it does come up a lot and it seems,
Conducted by a member of the resident family.
I don't know. I mean, I've known people who my neighbor had a photography business. He employed 8 people, lived on a lake
Yeah.
and did it for 30 years. And they weren't relatives. But maybe
That's what this says too. You have 2 non-residents.
he had 8.
Non-family,
He had 8.
non-members. So on the number 1, just take solely out, just conducted by a member of the resident family.
Digital came in.
Would that help?
I don't know.
Well, and so again, it's a definition. And so you have to go look at the different parts where home businesses are actually regulated. Home businesses are regulated under 4275 for the residential district as a permitted use, so long as they meet parking requirements. Home businesses are, and so the question is, all right, if you do have 8 employees,
Yep.
hey, you don't qualify as a home business. You have 8 employees coming to your home and doing things every day. Do we really want that in R1? That's the question you have to ask yourself.
Yeah.
Do you want something zoned as residential to be something where 8 people are coming to a residence and conducting business?
Yeah.
So the definition is, it may not qualify as a home business, but again, that's not a regulation of what a person can do. That regulation is found elsewhere. So they wouldn't fall under home business. They would fall under some other commercial definition.
So that definition could be shortened up to be something less than those 5 points. Maybe.
Sure.
That's why I said just take the word solely out and it would cover. It still comes with 2 people and then, I mean, the rest all is in there.
We had a lot of requests from towns for changes that actually have the general, the general.
no, I don't think we have a lot of requests, but I think as staff, there's a lot of issues in here that, and I don't know, like if this is the intent to just move it with the shoreland, maybe there's just a minor changes we make now and then we document everything that would be good to change to clarify a lot of things, because I mean, it is somewhat of a struggle working through it.
Yeah.
Or if that time's now, I don't know, but I think there's specific things that would be good to get passed on, like retaining wall being removed from here, or things like that, and then work on further cleaning up this ordinance at a different time or next ordinance.
Okay.
Yeah, it just seems like for due process and making sure we have all the information you need and looking through all the definitions, maybe some of the general cleanup that we need to do now with regard to the other changes. I mean, it's up to you, obviously, but just in good full transparency and just all of the things, making sure we're.
Well, we can get as many now before a public hearing for the 3. It's better to get as many,
Okay, yeah, absolutely.
let's clean up as much as we can right away.
And there's Jim standing by.
So what do you think? We can leave that one alone? Leave the home business alone? Or do you want to take solely out and make it, does that sound better if that isn't? Because they county, like you said, they conflict kind of 1 and 5.
Yeah,
If we took solely out, it would take the conflict out,
Yeah, it takes solely out.
yeah,
wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Does that make
that
sense?
helps.
Okay.
But then do you put the regulations in there, like the regulation on you can only have 2 people or no more than 50% of your house? Is that in the definition? Should that?
It's in both.
It's not a regulation. It's saying what
A home business is.
is. And
Okay.
so the regulations that control home businesses are found elsewhere.
Elsewhere,
So
okay,
if you don't fall, if these don't apply to you, then you're not a home business. And therefore you might be some other type of business that isn't allowed to operate in
Okay,
R1.
gotcha, right.
If you want to operate your business, you have to operate it in
General.
so just take solely out.
the other zoning districts are called.
Helps for the definition, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Boom, boom. Marina, you took that out. That one added on page 6, you added outlot. It's into that.
Could we go back to that home business for 1 second? For
Okay.
one part that I want to get Joe's opinion on. So in the definition, it states operated out of the residence or accessory structure. And then on 2, it says entirely within the residence and incidental. to
Oh,
the
I didn't
residence.
catch
Is
that.
that an issue? I mean, because run into that, sometimes people are like, well, here it says I can do it in my accessory structure. And here it says it's entirely within the residence. And I think that should be cleaned up, so it doesn't put staff over people. What does this mean?
So you'd have to take accessory structure off.
Well, no, I don't think, because there's people that operate, I mean, you could, you
Garage.
definitely could say it has to be within your dwelling, but there are people that operate a home business out of their garage or something.
Yeah,
Right.
So I don't know.
separate shed, yeah.
if you'd want to, you could again, but I don't know if you'd want to take that out. It would definitely have a bigger impact than just cleaning up to
Yeah.
not say, unless that's what it's meant to say.
You could say entirely within the residence or accessory
Yeah.
structure.
Yeah.
You have to add, that's what,
Okay. So, and take that incidental to the residence off and just, or, okay.
no, I think you could leave that
Leave
in
that,
there if you wanted
leave
to.
that in there and add that or accessory structure to it.
All right,
That would help, wouldn't it? Yes, it would. Okay,
down to outlot, I had that highlighted, if there wants to be any change to that, this is how it currently reads.
is that pretty much right from Ed too? Is the state have a, for surveying? They don't.
State has something in 236, but I wanted to look into it a little more because they say an outlot may not be used as a building site unless it is in compliance with the restrictions imposed by or under this section with respect to building sites. An outlot may be converted or conveyed regardless of whether it may be used as a building site. So that's where I wanted to check with Corp Council to see when it says imposed by, does that mean our subdivision ordinance is imposing that, which I think it is, because that's where we get our authority to have the subdivision ordinance is 236. And then in 236, we have a minimum lot size. So I don't know if this is saying you can have an outlot as long as it meets your restrictions in that section.
It's usually a leftover, so it doesn't always meet.
It's typically unbuilt.
But
Yeah.
it could be bigger, like they said. I mean, if it's a huge swamp and you put it in an outlot, it's a 15-acre swamp.
So
So I
that's,
think we can't restrict it. I don't think that way. I mean, that's,
no, yeah, and that's kind of the intent of it is a leftover piece or a piece that's not going to be used for development, but the issue is in reading this, people are creating outlots, specifically creating them. They're not just left over after a plat or a subdivision and then putting accessory buildings on them. I mean, there's hundreds of them.
yeah.
So it's like, with this definition, to me, it doesn't seem like that's allowed per the definition. So if that wants to be something that's allowed, I think the definition needs to change to allow that. Or if the intent of an outlot is just to be that, a remnant that's left over from platting and not specifically created out of a chunk of land, you could leave it as is, but that's.
What's the conservation development? Is that called it? That, those are outlots around those, aren't they? Where you do the concentration? You know, you put all the houses on
You mean the
10
green
acres
space?
and
The
you
green
got 30
space?
left.
Yeah,
And you remember we used to have park dedication, where sometimes those were also reserved as outlots for park dedication funds.
Conservancies and stuff. So I mean, you know, and those are,
But
it's an outlet owned by everybody or something, because we've only done one or two of those, like Nelson's one, but it's an outlet, but like you're saying, we still want to be able to put across the road from on these lakes, a shed across the road, and maybe you have to pump their sewer
It
across.
started out as sheds, right? As
Started out as
backlot
sheds.
development for a shed. But here's another question. Can the shed have living quarters? Can it have it was literally intended on an outlot because historically outlots were unbuildable lots. But in Polk County, that's not how that's not what transpired. So there was kind of a carve out for those back garages on
Garages, sewers, everything
So-
else too, and
no sewers.
storage.
There's no sewer.
Yeah, on an outlot,
You can put it there. You can't have a building that
You
requires.
can't have a building that required, but you could do it.
Use it
Yes,
as an open
People use
space.
it for
Yeah.
like their mounds or, yes.
Yeah, because on the lakeside, they got it so tight that you have to buy a lot behind.
So a balance.
But
Yeah, the
not a-
impact is if you don't allow an outlot, or if you keep the definition as is, what we would as staff be saying is you have to make that outlot an acre and then it's a buildable lot. If that person wants it for an accessory building down the road, someone 40 years from now, it would be an acre, so it'd still be a legal lot. They could put a house on it with that accessory building. And so you're preserving a buildable lot, but that's again, up to the committee on which way you want to look at it. It's not saying you can't name it an outlot if you don't want to, but you'd at least say it's an acre to cover that.
Well, they could always take it out if they wanted to
Yeah, the flip,
actually do the dwelling. I mean,
If it's an
that's
acre.
some on,
if it's an
it's
acre,
like we just did one where across, they put a shed up.
I don't mean to just jump in, Chair, but if it's an acre, but you know, a lot of those backlots are not able to be 1 acre. And that's why they
Yeah,
make
there
them
was-
outlots because they are a substandard lot. They can't be developed. They can't have a buildable lot. So if you require outlots to be an acre, I'm just giving you devil's advocate. You're gonna hear a lot from people like, well, I just want this 0.3 acres to put my little shed for my.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, then it would be a remnant because you can't, that's, even in a subdivision, when you get the corners and get the roads, you're gonna end up in the storm ponds and things are gonna have outlots on them.
Is there another vehicle, a different term? Because this is stemmed from the idea of creating a non-buildable space. That's where this is stemming from. And we'd had, my understanding, it had support of the town to have non-buildable space. Is there another vehicle that the town or an individual could use to say, we want to make this non-buildable space?
Just through.
Or would it have to be a conservancy? So then
Yeah,
that,
it
because that
turns into
goes into
that.
like a perpetual thing, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It's tough to get stuff out of conservancy, isn't it?
Seller,
Yes, it's
the-
almost like farm preservation. It's hard to.
developer can place covenant or restriction on the development themselves.
Say that again?
The developer can place covenant or restriction on the development themselves.
Could a town do that though?
If they have their own subdivision,
Yeah,
Public actions instead of covenants.
that would be in the plat. It would be in an approved plat would have to have that, and then it would have to be registered, because a lot of them don't register the covenants.
I'm like I said, I'm just, is there, personally, I think the outlet definition makes a lot of sense for what it is. We have people that wanted to use it for a different purpose, and that's what's creating the angst. So is there a different vehicle that could be used to still create the goal so the towns could have some rights to say, hey, we agree, we want this as non-buildable or non-developable without our say, blah, blah, blah. That's my question.
And non-developable for a dwelling, you're saying? Because the town is, I think, from that specific example, they're saying you can put a shed on it.
Right.
So that's where you get into what is buildable? Is it just any building or is it a dwelling lot?
Yeah.
Right, or, I mean, does the town have the right to say, no, we're going to limit residential in a certain area?
Only if they have their own zoning.
property rights activists would say no.
Actually, I think it should be up to the owner to decide if they want it out.
Okay, but then if,
The owner.
okay, but if they want an outlot, so then the owner creates an outlot of 50 acres.
Yep.
Because I don't want to own it anymore. I want to take the income off it, but I don't ever want to see it built. Then make it a conservancy, but then you don't get the income off it.
Yeah. But you can call it an outlot and then you have to come back to get it out of that outlot.
To do
You have
what?
to come back,
To sell it?
not to sell it,
Yeah.
to develop it,
yeah.
if you ever wanted to build on it or anything. It's almost like farm preservation. You put it in to protect your farm and then you,
Right,
The
but that's
kids-
not the definition of an outlot. I
No.
mean, truly, it's not the
Yeah.
definition of an outlot.
an outlot is to protect that area for a dwelling,
But does,
for a livable lot.
would that change the tax implications if you have 40 acres of, and you section it off and say, I'm gonna build an outlot. I'm gonna put 5 acres where my house is and the rest of my woods, I'm gonna call it an outlot. So
I'm not gonna build on it and not pay taxes on it as an outlaw versus paying recreational on it.
Right, I don't know, I'm just,
That's something.
yeah,
Yeah.
I don't think you can get out of recreational, it's 50 acres.
That's-
Get out of
I-
town.
I'm just saying is that,
I'd have tried that, it doesn't.
is
work.
there a different vehicle other than calling it outlot? That's my question.
And so the other problem is, again, we're regulating through definition, which I don't like.
Okay.
With stat 236 has a definition of outlot, which is basically the first sentence of our definition of outlot. And then later in the statute, it puts in the regulation of what you can and can't do on a outlot. That's what we should be doing.
Perfect.
We should be looking at simplifying the definition for the purpose of defining.
Yep.
And then if we want to regulate and say you can't have buildings other than accessory buildings that are specifically for the purpose of open space use, that should not be in the definition. That should be
In the use.
in a different use section that regulates the use of outlots. Putting it in the definition
Muddies things.
confuses
Yeah.
what is
Okay.
trying to be accomplished.
So what was the first line? Just up to what? What's on page 6 of 57? Is that what we should leave it at?
After plating,
So 236 is definition.
Or do we shorten it up? Is it, yeah,
An outlot is a parcel of land other than a lot or block so designated on the plat is what they have. But we could say outlot means a lot remnant or a parcel of land within a plat remaining after platting, which is intended for open space use.
and
And for which no development is intended other than what is accessory to open space use. So even that's kind of,
I mean, they're supposed to be undevelopable lots, right?
so where do you want to do?
Leftovers, but I understand there's a difference between reality.
So which is intended for open space use. Okay, do we just period it then?
I don't really have a good suggestion.
Not yet.
I haven't,
How about the surveyor? What does he say? Or that he just gives us 236 kind of to go by? And then where would we put it? In general or in each district? How would we do that? Tim's got his hand.
Well, I just want to make sure that we're thinking about this in terms of, there's a perspective of surveyor and splitting land out and the definition needed for that and the subdivision regulations. And then there's use regulations that we're talking
Okay.
about for zoning purposes. And those can and maybe should have two separate or distinct definitions.
Oh, okay.
Just thinking about, because they're for two different purposes. So it's something that maybe.
So in subdivision, it should have its own,
Potentially, because it's.
potentially, okay.
It's something that you're trying to regulate it from a different perspective. You're talking about actually chunking up land versus how you're utilizing that leftover piece of land.
Yeah.
Those are two different perspectives on that maybe the same term.
Okay,
So just keep that in mind.
Yeah, or using a definition to make something undevelopable.
yeah,
I think to Joe's point, that's where I think you could have the same definition, but then if you want to clarify what is allowed on one, the subdivision ordinance shouldn't do that. That's just saying what it is.
what it
In
is
zoning, you would then say an outlaw can be used for this.
for accessory structure, boom, 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 not for dwellings. Okay. So where should we, on this, what are we in general?
we're in general.
We're in general. So how should we leave it then in general?
The ones that think.
Outlot is the, which is intended for open space use, leave it there, not even put open space use. Or is that 236? Is that first line of 236? We could use that.
it depends on where it's used elsewhere in the ordinance and depends on,
This is in general.
right.
Okay,
Right, but if we're going back to the March 4th one, we have outlot in the March 4th one.
For example,
what is that?
After-
Say?
Same exact definition.
Okay.
F 42, the word outlot shows up 5 times. Twice in the definition. I think. No, once in the definition.
And then where else?
42.212, it says something can't be built on an outlot. Something.
E2, 212.
That's in the definitions of the unused ones. Those are definitions.
Now we go to 42,179.
Goes up in 42,212, where we say what a bunkhouse is, and a bunkhouse can't be built on an outlot. That's one of our things.
So that's in shoreline.
It's in shoreland.
Okay.
One in shoreland.
So if it shows up in 42,212, it's in definitions, isn't
Right,
it?
it's the definition.
That's a definition that it shows up in again.
Well, I'm looking at our current ordinance as opposed to
Oh,
Right, but I still think that's still definitions, isn't it? Or
general provisions in
it's
our.
general. Okay.
yeah.
It doesn't show up a whole lot.
Page 7 of 40.
Bunkhouses can't be built on outlots. That's one of the things that we are regulating.
Yep.
But really, the main no riparian outlot within the shoreland shall be created except for an outlot within subdivision access to roads. That's under shoreland as well. 42,301.
We had other issues with outlots before now.
After we left the buildings gone and sewers, it hasn't been.
I think,
When you go way back.
no, after the definition was read through, that's where the issues are now starting as far as reading the definition in plain language. And
Okay.
now saying that it can't be used for an accessory building. It's not said that it can't be made an outlot, but it was more of a, you need a condition on the lot to say it can't be developed because of this definition. And then the other outlot is there are buildings already there. So if this says you can't have buildings that are
Yeah.
open for the open space use, then that one can't be created. Because it's after you're putting a lot line around buildings and then saying it's an outlot. Whereas usually it's an outlot just gets created and then the open space use is there. And then if somebody wants to develop it for open space use as is in the definition, then that's where it comes into if you can or can't develop. If that use is for the open space use of that specific property.
So we'd almost have to take that open use out of there. Right? Is that what we're thinking? Which is intended for open space use. We'd have to just leave it there.
Yeah, I'm not in favor of changing the definition.
For now, I mean, it would,
Leave it alone.
it would take a much more in-depth look at the use of the word throughout all of our ordinances and the impact that doing so. And we can certainly do it on the next cycle.
Yeah.
As
How much it would
right now,
change?
I don't think there is a immediate concern with the definition of outlot, other than one issue. And I think that our language is clear enough that we can act on that particular issue for the time being.
Okay.
Generally, I want to get away from the idea of regulating through definition.
Right.
Makes sense. Okay.
Okay. Then the use was in there, variance, did you add it in red? Page 8, 9.
So that one I highlighted, but I think that one needs to stay in there. I think there's issues with having it in the shoreland ordinance per the model and them issuing use variances in that, but I think there's no reason it can't stay in the general because there's not specific
Okay.
regulation on that. But as to be clear on the transient lodge in the general, are we taking, do we want that definition to be the same exact as tourist rooming house minus the number of people?
For the days too, don't we? We have to make it up to the,
And
I'm just
yeah,
struggling with why we even need that second definition. other than the larger number of people, I
No.
guess. Okay. But we don't seem to have other discussions where that transient lodge can go with the ordinance. We talk about tourist rooming houses all over the place. We don't necessarily talk about transient.
Yeah, so it's not in the general. So then, okay. Makes sense.
It's not,
Took it out,
okay.
and you would, all you'd have is tourist rooming house. If somebody in the general area wants more than 8 people, it wouldn't be, considered a tourist rooming house. So then as far as your allowed use would probably go to more of a recreational business, commercial use rather than a residential, if that makes sense.
Would they go for a variance?
Change it into a rezone then to get it to work, because it wouldn't work under residential if it isn't listed, is that right?
So, rezone.
I'm trying to think of how a variance to the number of people. How the BOA.
Just looking under some of these other ones, if it's listed.
Financial and not allowed. Yeah, it would likely need to be rezoned into a viable zone
Yeah,
for the greater number of.
And it wasn't in there currently. So, I mean, it's not under any uses currently, but you can just take the definition out. We're not, besides cleaning it up.
Right.
Okay.
it's just gone.
So it's gone.
From the general, yeah.
On tourist rooming house though, could we, back to Joe's comment, understanding correctly, are we take out the,
Rules.
the rules and just say a single family dwelling sleeping accommodations are offered for pay for a maximum up to 2 tourists per transient bedroom based on the sanitary system serving the dwelling, period. And then if we want, I mean, I don't know, I guess that starts to get messy too, but we got all these other details in there saying, well, here's more regulation within the definition.
Yeah, I think maybe you'd even stop it after pay and then your 2 tourists per bedroom, your times and everything would then go under your conditions where it is under residential.
Yeah.
I think that would be, because then your definition is just saying a single family dwelling in which sleeping accommodations are offered for pay. And then you would add those other restrictions that are right in there underneath.
With all the conditions are under,
Tourist rooming.
Yeah,
under it already.
They're under there.
So that, yeah,
Okay.
and just take.
So
the
we
rest
really
of
wouldn't be
that.
changing anything, just taking the rest of that
Yeah. Ouch.
Yeah.
muddiness in the definition out.
does it say the 2 people per bedroom?
Based on the sanitary, doesn't it say that on the conditions?
Well, it says they have to follow the rules around the septic system and stuff, doesn't it? Which would be under what?
R1, page 19 of 57. Well, RVs, all that, those contact numbers. Full.
Proper licensing. That would take care of that.
It could probably go under M too, or after
Oh,
M. where
Septic
it talks
system.
about Septic system.
Yeah. But it doesn't say anything about 2 people per bedroom.
Per bedroom, does it? So it would be under M, huh?
We could add it under M,
Yep, 2 person.
or it could be its whole own condition too, if we don't want it to. You could add.
Yeah.
Less than 30 days per rental day. By the way that you have it right now, it sounds like that's any rental. You can rent a single family house for more than,
Oh, yeah. Yeah, anything over 30 days is
you're not.
Is not.
invited out at all.
regulated. Or is that part, the 780 days is down?
P, max rental of 180 consecutive days per year with a minimum rental period of 7 consecutive days.
See, we need, instead of 7, it should have the number. I like numbers, pop out.
So you could,
It says,
Definition on page 8.
yeah, so you would then want to add means a single family dwelling in which sleeping accommodations are offered for pay as a short-term rental. And then that would address long-term versus short-term.
Oh, sure, okay.
So. But it is in.
I think we have to label that 100 days. Makes that a short term.
Yeah, I mean, it is right in state statute as far as the different, I forget if that's in,
That in is
what
your report on short
chapter that's in, but it does talk about long-term versus short-term. I mean, so you could put it in here, definitely.
So short term would be just, short term rental is less than 30 days. Isn't it? I think it's 30.
Yeah, 30 is the.
It says 30.
Putting that in,
it says that in the statute, residential dwelling that is offered for rent for a fee and for fewer than 30 consecutive days.
So that's right in the regulations.
Yeah, it's right in the statute. It doesn't talk about lodges.
No, it just does the,
This is crazy.
I agree that we should delineate what a short-term rental is.
put that definition in, that's in this.
So add that
Presentation.
definition of a short-term rental.
Is property, is offering property for rent for less than 30 days.
For less than
Yeah.
30 days. So that definition is,
So that would be an
he
added
actually has
definition.
it in his handout. The writing, show it to him, oh, that, see if that looks right for him.
7 to 29.
So we'll.
Added definition.
Yes.
66.1015.
No, it wasn't anybody say, he had a,
It wasn't in
he's gonna
the,
do he was gonna do a presentation.
Under number 11.
We're not there yet.
Yeah, we're not there yet for that one. But I think there's a couple, she had a couple. What? It's just a review of it, so it's one from when? When was this done? Last year?
it was at the
Presentation that was given at the Wisconsin
county
County Association.
association last year.
Last year, yeah.
Quite information. The subject was very vague on and what actually we were gonna
Right.
discuss or talk about, so. Just sent out the information of past one that was done by a Tollus law on counties and short-term rental regulations.
So more, it was just to get discussion out there too and stuff, was what it was. Make a couple of them safe. All right,
So for,
so short term, you're gonna add that into that. We can put that in all our definitions. Should be in shoreline and general.
yeah.
I would think both.
Yeah,
This one. It's crazy.
Or, okay,
Somehow it's wrong.
all right, then,
but what is the final definition that you want in there for that?
I think the one that,
From 66.10.1015. Short-term rental.
We're keeping them, they're gonna be called tourist rooming houses, but we're gonna define short-term rental for that
yes,
language that's in there.
and that even if you reference that number at least two, then we know we didn't, somebody just didn't make it up. It's right from the state. If that helps.
Mhm.
people too to have to look it up.
And then use that same definition and add short-term rental in the shoreline.
I think so, yeah, so it's in there both. Both be the same on this one.
Should be the Corp council here.
All right. I highlighted 8, 9, and 13 on page 10. Because they're all, well, the one's talking about groundwater, but aid in protection of groundwater and surface water, preserve water quality, shoreland and wetlands, and protect vegetative shore cover underneath purpose. To me, it seems like those should be removed if they're specifically referencing the shoreland,
Okay, yeah,
Because this is general.
because this is general, yeah.
so those three would be out, three out.
I think you could leave in the ground, on number 8, just take
Oh.
off, and surface water, because then, I mean, your junkyards and everything, the purpose is to protect, or part of that
Okay.
purpose is to protect
Yep.
groundwater, yeah.
Yeah,
Um,
so that, I see what you're looking at, yeah.
preserve water quality, shoreland. um, Those two I think would be specifically tied into
Sure.
shoreland.
Itself, yeah.
The wetlands, I want to make sure, because we have shoreland, wetland, but then there's wetlands that are not within the shoreland. I forget if we have regulations on them. If we do, we probably want to keep wetlands there, but
So you just did, okay, I see.
I don't know if we do. I think we might be able to take all of those out.
Just preserve wetlands, that way take water quality shoreline out.
You might even be able to take, if there's nothing else, I can look, if there's nothing referencing wetlands in this whole document, I'll probably take it out.
Okay.
There's no reason for it to be in there, so I'll circle that. Otherwise, we'll for sure take out water quality and shoreland,
Okay,
because those will be in the shoreland ordinance.
sure.
And then protect vegetative shore cover, because it says shore cover, I mean, we'll take that out too,
Yep.
right? Okay. Otherwise, all the other purpose looks like they're specifically to, or not specifically, but more of a general purpose, yeah. Not general purpose shore. And then under 42.5, it says no land or water shall be used. I mean, I think we can take out water because there shouldn't be water if you're not in the shoreline unless.
Yep.
So there's nothing in here that regulates water quality for swamps or aquatic figures in wetlands.
That's what I'm gonna look, and if there is, then we'll wanna keep in, the wetland purpose and,
For purpose and intent, yeah, you
Mhm.
leave it.
possibly the water there. The way it seems to read to me is like they're talking about the actual water, which I guess you can have
Does it
wetlands.
hurt? Does it hurt leaving it in?
Probably not, no. We can leave that one in there.
Under 42.6, the blue, would that line go back in there? Except for towns that have none,
Well, I think
or are we gonna do it a different way?
the B covers that, so that's why we were gonna add it there, but I think B explains that if a town wishes to withdraw from county zoning.
And then they have their own.
Um.
Does that cover it good enough, do you think? B.
I think that covers jurisdiction. I forget what it actually says right now, 42-6. It's the current language.
Yeah.
And if you think there's any issue with how it's
Then-
explaining the jurisdiction.
It also says as A says it's provided in B-2 of this section. There is no B-2 if I'm reading that correctly, under 42-6. Right, isn't that where we're at?
Yeah.
Yeah.
There is no B2.
That looks like that was in there prior, so it's an
Sure.
error of
Yep.
reference, the B2,
So
but it should be B, just B, right?
B. Yep.
B, take 2 off.
And then what was A on the current ordinance? How does-
Jurisdiction of this chapter is the unincorporated areas of the county. This chapter shall affect the unincorporated areas of the county or applicable portions thereof as provided. So it is
Exactly.
redundant.
Yeah.
So you can just take out the first sentence.
And then B covers everything. It looks like to me that that would cover saying that if a town opted out, they're obviously not under that jurisdiction.
So take out the whole first sentence, you said,
Yeah.
Joe?
Yeah, potentially just,
This chapter shall.
Mhm.
I think that with some Scrivener modifications and we can work on that.
Okay.
Just in case, okay.
Yeah, it's clarifying that it's just the unincorporated areas.
Mhm.
Of the county, yeah. Under 42-10, L and M, those both reference within 1,000 feet of water, so I think we should strike both of those out of the general ordinance because anything within that area would fall underneath the shoreland ordinance.
So the non-conforming 50%, that's gone, isn't that?
Well, it's gone from shoreline for sure, but that's where I highlighted it because it's still in our general. So I mean, and I don't know when it was put in there and why, if it was with both of them, but that's why I highlighted this because currently it would still say that if you have a non-conforming structure in the general area, you can only expand that up to 50% of the original footprint over the life of the structure.
Okay.
Doesn't happen a lot in the general, but if, say, someone's happened to be 2 feet from the property line and they wanted to expand their house, you'd say you can only do up to 50% of it. You can't just
Without,
keep adding up. Yeah.
okay.
But I think it was mainly in there for the shoreland issues, but I wasn't sure if that had any other purpose specifically to the general.
It happens in the hamlets,
Probably doesn't hurt to stay.
like East Farmington, some of the stuff, if it's wrong or like Clam Falls where it fell, lines they didn't change and were put away and.
Yeah, the old plats, yeah.
Yeah, the old plats that were stuff, so I think, so we could probably leave that in there for now. We haven't had,
Yeah, I mean, might have to read into it a little more, because I mean, the way it reads, it looks like if it's considered non-conforming principal structure, so if it's non-conforming to a property line, but somebody wants to add away from that property line, you can only do it to 50% of the structure.
so you put legal non-conforming? Do we have to add that?
Not
So at the time it got a permit in 1968, it was
Oh.
legal,
Yeah.
Legal, yeah.
and now all of a sudden it isn't.
Got it.
But they did it by that law
Got
at
it.
the time.
Now I'm following you.
Yeah, that's how we gotta go backwards sometimes, but it was a legal non-conforming. I mean, if they built it new non-conforming, then they would have, there'd be something else.
And we could just blow it up. Sorry, I was kidding. I was kidding.
It's getting to be that time again.
What do you say? We need a short break here to stretch?
I'd be okay with a 5-minute recess.
Yes, let's do that. Let's do it.
Sort of just took one.
5, 6, let's at least move a little. Everybody's back.
All right, Chair.
Get that big administrator bag. All right, what were we on? Page 14 of 57? Right. Substandard lots, the other 14 of 57, where we, was the next red?
14, 13?
Yeah.
42, 13, substandard
Yep.
lot.
42, 13.
Yeah.
I was looking.
Is that pretty much what we had, or is that?
Yeah, that's exactly what we have.
That's what we had in there, okay.
I think I might have highlighted it because in the shoreland, there's a good note that kind of explains further clarification on the intent of that, saying that if people are combining 2 lots and getting closer to a conforming lot, that's fine. We're not, this isn't saying you can't do that. The
Oh,
way it's,
okay.
but I was trying to find that and I don't know if I have it in. We could add it in shoreland. And it probably can, it doesn't come up a lot in general, because there's not a ton of small lots and just general zones.
Just general,
I
but
mean, I think it can probably just stay in there for now. And if we come into more issues with it, we can bring it up later.
yeah, but at least it's there if there's some small ones, okay.
Yeah.
And we jump to 18 where it's allowed and permitted uses.
Yeah, so I highlighted a lot of these sections that say allowed and permitted. Sometimes it's confusing when it's worded like that. So do you need a permit for every single, use? So like when you have, or I guess the question is what's allowed, what's permitted, and what's allowed and permitted. The way it reads, it says the uses are allowed or permitted, but there's no distinguishing between what is considered allowed or what's considered permitted.
Okay,
So I don't know the best way to break that up. Because obviously like a single family home, you're gonna need a permit for the construction of it, but
yeah,
when you got gardening down there, like what permit are we gonna issue for gardening?
Yeah.
Are you gonna do a permitted use for,
yeah.
it just seems a little bit. When you read, and I know we ran into that, when you read through the ordinance, it just seems a little bit confusing on what.
So you're thinking adding that language just kind of helps clarify a little bit.
Well, no, that's what's in there currently.
Allowed and permitted?
Yeah.
Currently, I was thinking add that. No.
No, I just highlighted it to discuss.
So you want it, what do you want to have it say, allowed and permitted uses?
Have you had
Should we
issues,
just leave it with it?
had issues with people trying to figure it out?
I mean, I think it's an issue for like us trying to figure it out, like what, when it says allowed and permitted, but then it says the following uses are allowed or permitted. So one says and, one says or, what is allowed and what is permitted, or are they all? Like, are we going free and, or like a home business? Is that a permitted use? So we need to get a permit for it, or is it just allowed where they can just do it? It doesn't distinguish that anywhere. And I don't know if I really have a good recommendation on how to clean that up. I don't know. I don't know if Joe has any.
Would you have, which ones are permitted? Gardening wouldn't, but it's a nursery you would have. Or not, otherwise everything else is a permit, isn't it? 1 through 6. 7.
Well, home businesses, don't think right now, we wouldn't require a permit to start your home business. We would consider it an allowed use, it's allowed in that area. But when the title says allowed and permitted.
Permits maybe.
Probably just keep determining it on a case by case basis, but maybe documented better on where the direct issue is, but
Allowed.
it's weird. The first one says and, the second one says or, and it
Okay,
kind of doesn't always work the greatest together. And residential might not be the best spot to explain it. Like if you get, well, I don't want to skip too far ahead.
so these, could it be allowed uses may be permitted uses also? Do you put the word may? Let that, gardening out or whatever, because everything else needs one, it looks like. Like home business may need one if they change something. Do you put may in there then?
Yeah, or is it saying allowed and permitted, not actually a permit, but they're just permitted to be there, but
Yeah.
I don't know if that makes, that doesn't make it's confusing.
Yeah.
But I could see where that maybe was the intent, saying you're allowed to be there, you're permitted to be there, but you're not really getting a permit to do it. I don't know.
But you
Well,
need a
allowed-
permit for 1, 2, for sure.
Any specific structure that's being built, you would need a permit, but it's more of if you're changing something or adding one of these things to that. Again, like down in,
They're permitted, they're allowed, right? So could it just say permitted uses?
does that mean you need a permit or
To have
you
6
just
chickens?
can
You have to have
do
a
it?
permit to have 6 chickens in a fence?
Because that's what I don't think, yeah,
I
you
like
necessarily want to require a permit.
The following uses are allowed and some may need to be permitted or something like that.
They need permit.
They
Yeah.
need a permit.
May need a permit, yeah.
So just,
I don't think you have to define it. Then we're getting into joke. We don't want to define it too much.
allowable uses that may need permits. Because the first 1 or 2 does, gardening might not, home business doesn't, but if we go that way, it's the may is in there instead of. How about that?
It may be permitted, yeah.
That. Help me.
May need a permit.
What else would we use? Because these are uses, 1 through 7 are allowed uses, but you need a permit.
Maybe they're just, yeah, I mean, maybe none of them are supposed to require a permit for the actual use. Cause like you get into, other districts, there's a section that says a change in use that requires a land. So maybe it's just residential, there's nothing that besides cruise rooming house, bed and breakfast. So maybe they are just allowed. So maybe it should just say allowed uses. I don't, if that makes sense, but.
Just simplify it that way.
Like it.
I think we just should have allowed because I don't think it means permitted to have a permit.
No,
Yeah, that's
They are
no,
permitted.
they're permitted.
Allowed.
Yeah.
I agree, Doug.
It's in there.
it's allowed
twice.
and permitted.
Makes it worse,
Mean
yeah.
the same thing.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'll change all those to just allowed uses.
Gotcha.
Yeah, it shows up about 22 times.
Yeah.
So it'll need to get changed throughout.
Well, I've got the page 20 and there it is, allowed and permitted uses.
Just verify that nowhere does it in fact mean
Permits.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. How about in the zoning ordinances, permits are just actual permits that are issued,
how do we define?
and we don't use that word as permitted. Would be
Right.
helpful.
That was something I brought up at a
Allowed.
certain point as well.
Yeah, because right, it's in the Hamlet district right away again too, so it's.
Yeah, it's in pretty much all of them.
So 22 places.
yeah,
Yeah.
just say allowed.
Uh,
But easy change then.
all righty, yeah.
Divide and replace.
Page 21, I think is the next different column. So the minimum lot size within this, I mean, I think it can stay, it is enforced in our subdivision ordinance that way. I mean, I think you could take it out or keep it in there. I don't think there's any impact to that. So if we want to just keep it, we can. I'll change that fit to foot. So I don't know how long that's been there, but. And then more of just a discussion, the road setbacks, they just keep popping up saying they're governed by the section that actually has them listed. Which I don't know the reason, because then you kind of have them in both locations, but it can stay there. It just seems like you're already saying these are the road setbacks early in the document, and then now you're saying road setbacks, they need to be governed by that section. Probably not the time to
I
dig
think the
into
people
that.
must be looking for it though. That's why it must. Why it got added so many spots.
Yeah.
Just a clear roadmap of what the requirements are.
So what was the, under this one, the road setback 5 feet from the road right?
Yeah, that was just
What is
I think
it?
it was more of me just being like, I don't know, seeing that and not
What is it?
work. Yeah, so if you're in Hamlet, I guess the setback is 5 feet from the road right of way rather than,
Okay,
which doesn't really explain the greatest because normally it's the most restrictive, but maybe we could definitely say that that's,
but that's in the hamlet, so there isn't
yeah.
a lot. Okay,
A shame. Range, yeah.
yeah, range, all those little ones, East Farmington. Okay. Is there C allowed and permitted?
Yeah, I don't think I had anything specific to that determining residential lots. At least nothing major.
No.
Otherwise road setbacks. I think the next different language that doesn't have to do with densities or road setbacks is on page 29. Conditional use under natural resource district. Currently, it says conditional uses for this district are licensed game farms. Has came up recently. We don't have a definition for game farm. But I guess maybe it was just me asking what the committee's thoughts are on what that specifically means when you say that a conditional use is required for a licensed game farm. What is a licensed game farm?
So that definitions come from the DNR because they have deer, pheasant, different things. Doesn't the DNR might have one, what they are?
There is one, but
Or doesn't it sound very good?
So the struggle with this one though is that this says there is no residential house on here, non-resident, so you can't like live here. So if someone has, if I decided I wanted to like have elk as a game farm on my house, on my property, then suddenly I can't live there anymore, or I have to find some random way to zone just that piece. I thought there was a place, there was something about that there is no, unless I'm remembering incorrectly.
But farms have different, it would be, how do they do that? Because they live with, on the deer farms and the elk and that.
yeah, I think it would be a,
Might be something under the DNR rules. Yeah.
But does that, if you choose to put elk on your farm, that doesn't automatically change your zoning. It's whether you could have it in your residential area, right? That this is just for if it's zoned N1.
Right. But the issue that came up though is this person happens to be in my district is, does this person have a game farm, but yet he's living there? So what is, or is it a game farm or is it poultry because of what this person is raising?
What's
But
it
then he'd
zoned
be in-
now, do you know?
Different zoning district.
residential on the front and then RA5 in the back.
And a really weird zoning layout.
Yeah. But that's where at least the county still currently allows split zoning on a parcel. Some counties don't, but we do still. So I think that's where you'd have to rezone the portion has the farm and the portion that has the dwelling, you wouldn't, rezone that portion.
Mhm.
But it was more, yeah, it seemed like
You would-
game,
Goes around the house. I mean,
yeah,
it's just, I'm just saying that one to me, it was just really kind of complicated, kind of a struggle point.
When the town zoned it that way originally, was this farm there? Do we know?
probably not when it was originally zoned, but
Okay,
it's been there a while.
okay.
But yeah, I mean, cause I think I highlighted it just because the game, if you go look up the general definition of game farm, any brooding, rearing, anything like that, which I didn't know if the intent was like specifically to, if you're only going to hunt out there, then it needs to be rezoned. But I mean, I think we came to a
Well,
resolution.
it'd have to be a
Good.
licensed
I mean, I
one.
haven't heard any more from that
Yeah.
person, so, yeah.
or at least for that specific
Good.
reason, but.
Made it work out. All good. Where we go?
Okay,
Shouldn't be a whole lot else. I think I highlighted for page 46, I highlighted that. Because of the reason of potentially adding the requirement that a property needs to be in compliance to get a permit, so that, talk about that again. And then I highlighted the land use permit section because that's what we enforce off of, and that's pretty much what requires a permit for everything, which we do run into quite often, on some smaller projects or retaining walls that are in the general area per how the ordinance works. At least when I read that section, it seems like they would need a permit. We want to dig into that now or wait on that? Probably wait. That line in 47 got just moved down. That was talked about before. Administrative appeals. I don't remember exactly why I highlighted that, but if it was more of a fee question down the road when we get to the fee schedule. On page 51, this is one that maybe wouldn't be for council, and I've talked about this specific section where it says the Environmental Services Committee may issue an on-site work order.
had that marked too.
We discussed it should likely say the, I don't know, administrator or zoning office. Because if we need to do an on-site work order and you guys meet once a month, it's like if we have to get the committee to issue that, it doesn't really make sense.
I don't think it's a duty of us either, is it? It's not a duty of the committee
No.
to be enforcement, was what I was thinking. So that would be, it would be like any enforcement, it would be the zoning or his designee. Is that how we say it? Does that make sense?
Their designee, but sure.
Zoning or designee, whatever it is, or however that was stated before for some of the other citation.
Zoning administrator or their designee is typically the link.
Yeah, okay.
Did you want it to include the county administrator? Logan, you mentioned the county administrator. I think statutorily
No, I guess I don't know. Just now I mentioned.
That isn't
I
his.
think I meant zoning administrator.
yes.
I don't think it's the administrator's duty either.
It's the
Yeah,
zoning
so I mean, we
administrator
shouldn't,
statutorily.
So it should say the zoning administrator.
or designee or whatever, however
Their
that's stated. Because that's how Land and Water has it in theirs too, their stuff for citations.
The county conservationist or their.
Yeah. Okay,
Look at it quicker now. Use variance that can stay in there. I highlighted the part under
notice,
where it says the secretary of the Board of Adjustment shall give or cause to give notice of each hearing. I can work with corp counsel on this, but the way it specifically states that it's the secretary that's doing it, and that's not how we do it. Our office does it for them. So I don't know if that's something that might be a bigger change to do or not.
does the BOA have a secretary?
Yeah, they do.
Besides
Elect,
them?
do elect one, correct?
But standard operating procedure has been our office provides that administrative support to them.
So do we take that out like we did with our meetings? I mean, you go back, we used to always have somebody was a secretary and had to take notes. Now that we have
Yeah.
the clerk doing it,
Is
is it in their rules of order that they have to have a secretary, or should we get that out?
We'll have to look at their rules of order and then as it can cross reference with this because it is in their rules of order.
And maybe pull it so that they can actually be at the meeting and not worry about minutes. That's what we came down to back in the day, that the secretaries, we always had somebody sitting there trying to keep up with notes and
Right.
stuff. And You know, they weren't in the meeting part of it. So right now you would just take out the secretary, that'd be the zoning office or something for now.
Yeah, we can look into it to make sure it's not conflicting with the rule.
Their rules of order, pull it out of theirs, okay. Because the clerk, you don't do those, do you? For POAs? Okay. So the clerk doesn't do, all right.
Can if she wants.
I was just gonna say that. I didn't want to get my head bit off.
No, I didn't get a knife in the back either. I didn't volunteer. All right, that's,
Then the last one on 56 was just a note for me to ask Corp Council if we should include our BOA process in the shoreline ordinance, which I think we should if we're separating them out to make sure it's in both, correct?
Yes.
oh,
Is it the same exact process?
should be.
Yeah, you have to offer relief to the ordinance. And so if they're going to be separated out, I would think it would be the recommendation.
Either that or any following process elsewhere. Either way, it should make reference
To the BOA that it's,
so either put the whole thing. Or reference to the appeals process is found
Sure.
elsewhere.
oh, I see, yeah, put it
Just
under,
reference it, yeah.
under BOA, whatever, 42 something,
Mhm.
For the appeals process,
administrative appeal, whatever, how it goes, yeah,
refer to
Yeah.
the process in 42.
sure.
If we can look at that and make sure we're covering it so it's enforceable in both sections, not relying on the general to enforce it like it currently is.
Backwards, yeah.
I think that's it for general.
All right. Did we cover all three then?
We didn't cover subdivision, but what did Joe say? We have to actually bring back a petition to talk about subdivision?
It's up for discussion right
Right.
now too.
But
Because it looks like likely if you conduct the public hearing and we'll have to conduct it on that again as well.
So on the subdivision one, the only one is, we're gonna leave the outlot in there.
Yeah, so I guess my
Yeah,
question,
petition.
was there a reason that it was specifically denied that we need to address or?
We didn't get to discuss it, so we don't know
You mean,
when they voted it down at the county
oh,
board.
oh, okay.
So there really isn't any.
So they didn't give us any substance on what, where, and why.
There were no comments on it, no controversial items in the subdivision ordinance at all. So
So,
do we take the same thing to public hearing then on
Well,
in May?
but in my mind, why I voted the way I did, I thought we left this meeting and I talked to Joe about this afterwards, because I thought there was still some other small, less important things that needed to change in that ordinance that we were going to push off until summer. And I thought if they're small and unimportant, why not just put them in and get it all done? Because if they're that small, we don't have to spend a lot of time on it, and then we don't have to go through another round of public hearings and that type of stuff. So I don't know if, Joe said, no, there wasn't anything else.
No, the subdivision was pretty cut and dry, and there just are several constituents waiting because there's a reduction in side yard setback. And so we have some builders, some constituents, they're waiting for that to get done. So we've just, pushed that off and.
we received public comment about that.
Yeah, I would say in talking with Joe, if we do have to re-petition it again, which sounds like we are and have to, there's easement language in there that I think should come out specific to that. That seems like it's specific to shoreland areas and the same language that was in shoreland that we're proposing to take out. So I think that would be one thing that should come out of there. I don't know if Joe has anything to add on that.
We could clean that up now in this next public hearing.
do you remember where that was? That plat review, subdivision review?
I don't have it in front of me.
Okay. I think where the easements were.
Not too far in. 32, you have it in front of you?
Yeah,
213.
213.
3213, okay. Easements, okay, page 7 and 31 of
Yep.
last month.
4th.
Oh, so it was in there?
It was in the past,
It was in the one that was,
resolution. We would be proposing to take it out.
what were you thinking of taking out of that part? Do you remember?
That,
Do you remember what you were gonna take out?
oh, it's anything that's saying about like lot access. So this, the whole number 1
The
is
whole
talking
number one.
about riparian easements and access.
Oh, okay.
Page 7 of 31 in.
7/31 of the March 4th.
So is that the one that limits the number of?
Number
Backlot development,
32,
things like that, yeah.
Yeah, and number 1 is what, because.
Language also in the shoreland, part of the WRA.
So how many lots can an easement serve?
It's one navigable lot, riparian lots,
Okay,
watercraft, because.
I guess. I don't know.
That isn't in there.
okay.
Can serve 100 backlots, one easement?
No, it doesn't say that isn't part.
I mean, I just want to make sure we're not throwing something out that is,
Yeah, I think it was added language, but that's where it had initial talks with. I think we had a little bit more to look into to see if it's legal to keep in there or not, so.
3213 was added in 2022.
Okay.
It's not something that was there prior to 2022, and it is something that is subject to litigation. Leave a previous recommendation came out of Corporation Counsel's office related to the adoption of that particular section. I don't recall, so I can't.
okay, so we'll have to talk about that further.
So, yeah,
If it's an issue, would you like me to take it out before we petition the new
should
subdivision?
we take out that number 1 or how much, did they want the whole section taken out?
I think it's just number 1 was added.
Just number 1, wasn't it, added? Does everybody kind of see, should we just take number 1 out then? Read mark it. See 2 up there, that one. Guess if it doesn't hurt, take it out and be done, huh? Who else? Pam, you read it. Do you read, what do you think too?
I mean, I would defer to corporate counsel on this if he thinks we have a concern with it and I'm fine with removing.
That's a Doug thought too, didn't you? Just take it out to be safe then.
That entire section was not, easements in subdivision was not referenced prior to 2022.
The
Okay.
entire easement section is what you're saying, the entire easement section.
But we could look at it to see if there's legal parts in there that were put in for a reason other than shoreland areas.
Right.
Because
Yeah,
the first
why
line,
do
the
we
county
need to worry
shall
about
review all
Yeah.
easements.
Yeah, why
Under-
do we need to review all easements?
Yep, under statute 236, so we gotta have something in there. Maybe have Ed look at that and see what he thinks and the corp council, so they. Because whatever their statute says that has to be in or out, we should have whatever's in there then.
And is that register of deeds that does that? I mean, who actually does that? Zoning that, or is that zoning that reviews easements?
So they file them or they record them, sorry, but yeah, I think Ed's request and I don't know how it fits in statute, but is to review them. Otherwise you get some very off easements that are recorded that not even explaining what it's supposed to be explaining.
The purpose of it.
So they're reviewed to make sure that they are actually mapping or not, it's not mapped, but they're reviewing it for
Well,
accuracy of what is actually
Yeah.
being given an easement,
Got it.
correct?
A 20-foot easement through your land and you don't know what they're doing.
Right.
Yeah, yeah, that happened in my name.
Yeah.
People
Or
across
lost
the lake.
line or something, you don't even know it's there or something, and all of a sudden there's people in it.
Yeah.
Okay, so that you'll check into it, that.
Yeah, and then the only other thing, as I looked through it again after, I was like, well, if this is gonna up again, was we have had some conversation, and I haven't talked with Eric about this yet, but farmland preservation underneath our district size it says 35 acres for farmland preservation. But we also have the requirement of the ratio of non-farm residents to farm residents. And at that conference I was at, it sounds like it should be either you have one or the other in there, not both. And we've ran into the issue where it's like, they're allowed to do it per the ratio, but we have a 35 acres minimum over here. And it sounds like those are the two options and we have them both in there. So they're kind of, the one is not,
Conflicting.
yeah, it doesn't come into a play because the 35 acres is the more restrictive. So to me, it seems like, and we can look into this again with, I can look into it with Eric, but I think if we take that 35 acre minimum out, I don't think it's going to have any great impact on what the purpose of that farmland preservation district is.
This was the option to allow someone into farmland preservation.
It's when somebody's looking to create a non-farm residence within that district. Our shoreline set, or our subdivision says 35 acre minimum, but some of these don't necessarily have the parcel, or they want to split off a bigger, 10 acres for the non-farm residents, but they have to follow the ratio still. So some of that gets addressed anyways. You
Sure.
can't just make a 30 acre non-farm residence within your farmland pres, but
Got it.
I think it makes sense to take out.
To take out, okay.
We can look at it.
I think we should look at.
Okay.
Maybe consult with.
Because we had the one up there, what, Lakeland or wherever. That way.
There was one in McKinley and there was one in,
Only one we.
Where the guy took the house out. and-
Yeah.
Then flipped acreage.
there might have been two in McKinley.
Yeah,
That could have been to a McKinley, yeah.
So in order, if we do process to go to the public hearing, these two things, you're comfortable with us addressing them and putting them in there if they need to get if they can get taken out or need to get taken out in the terms of the shoreland easement language or subdivision.
sure.
We'll do that and just include it in the new document.
Include it in
Okay.
the documents. Yeah.
And if it has to be in there,
Yeah, and it's subject to hearing and change,
Right.
you're
Yeah.
discussing it.
Okay. So that should take care of all three then.
yeah, I think the question on general ordinance that I just would want to clarify is if these changes still fall under just a normal revision with council rather than having to go through the whole other process of a rewrite. It doesn't seem like we're changing any of the uses underneath them, so I don't think it has to from my perspective, but that would be one thing we'd want to clarify before throwing it on public hearing. And then if it's going to be considered that other avenue that requires more approvals, I just wouldn't want to jump into it and then have to back up
And
again.
back up again, sure.
Rewrite typically follows a comprehensive plan update with
Yeah,
changes to your overall guidance to the county. And it seems like, council, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but nothing I've seen is bind us to a complete, right?
we'll look into that because what do we need? The 2 weeks and stuff. So the other two would,
Class 2 notice, yeah.
yeah, class 2. But the shoreline subdivision, it would come. Would put them up. Tim, what did you think? On that part?
Rewrite part?
Do you think it's the general, if we go back to where it was, do we gotta? Or maybe look at the changes and think,
I think it is, but
okay,
that's just, it's just this guy's opinion.
yeah, well. It's always good to get more than one.
We'll have corporation council weigh in on that topic.
Okay, good luck. All right. So number 9 is in. That we hold off then, don't we?
Someone should postpone it to next meeting.
I make a motion that we postpone resolution 0826-26 to our May meeting.
Do you want the date? That will be on May 6th.
May 6th to our May 6th meeting.
Okay. Is there a second?
Second.
Second, Doug. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Opposed? Okay, that moves on.
I was thinking, listed down. Silly me.
Chair Logan, maybe they'll move BOA case review below the next couple. Do you want them in the effort of time and because we have a couple of folks needing to do, do you want to maybe have the,
Oh, let's have the right to rent. Mo's gotta leave. Yeah, wait a minute. Can you do it in 5?
Well,
sorry, Logan.
I wasn't gonna go through this whole presentation with that, as I talked to you on the phone on what you're actually looking for and discuss the right to rent laws.
Yeah.
Looking versus just printing out the law and trying to that, found this document on WCA's website that Andy Phillips and Malia and Rebecca Roker did back in August of 2025, kind of explained it by bullet point of what the county has. So not quite sure what question you had or if what the committee wanted to discuss about the right to rent law or any changes.
That could always come up at the next one then, because we just got this.
My only question is that there was some discussion at one of the meetings about laws changing. Currently, what is in this document is current state statute.
Correct.
So we are currently in compliance with state statute as far as the 180 days and minimum 7 days.
I believe so. The statute hasn't changed since 2021 is my last recollection of the change. And we modified to make sure that we were in compliance in 2022, 2023.
Yeah, because basically this, I mean, the document is just reiterating that we are in compliance. The only thing is, since it was from August 25, has anything in your understanding changed legally with any case law or any legal ramifications? Thank you.
Where did the number of occupants come from?
Particular ordinance? I don't.
The number of
There
occupants.
there is a reference in there about two people per bedroom.
If you had more than a 4-bedroom house, how can we limit somebody renting to each?
If it goes over the 9 or 10, that was the tourist law.
So if the question is related to 66.1014, there is no restriction on
Numbers.
those types of numbers.
Our ordinance there is.
In our ordinance, there
Our
is.
ordinance. Sure.
This isn't saying you can't have that, is what, right?
That's just something
These are the
that,
maximums that you're allowed to regulate.
No. This is saying if a political subdivision is enforcing it, they cannot prohibit a rental for 7 consecutive days or longer. Again, if it is being enforced, you can't say it's less than 180 days. You can't say you have a max of 100 days. This is saying it has to at least be 180 days that is allowed to be used, but it's not saying that's the max, or I forget the correct.
So the restriction on the ability of the county to regulate timeframes, not on the ability to regulate the sort of usage, amount of people on a particular residence, in a residence, which I think is what you're asking. The statute does not restrict the county's ability to do so.
like, the county can set that regulation if they want, and they have.
Versus the other ones.
Yeah, so that's. And also it's the health department comes in too and decides occupancy by so many square feet or cubic feet even.
Yeah.
So I mean, there's more than one thing that says it's
Square footage.
Yeah, don't they go by cubic though, don't they now? Cause they had like 400. 4x4x8, you can live in a closet for a person, so. They have some, that would be their part of it.
I did also have just the state statute and then our current language. I mean, if you guys want this, you can have it. I'm guessing it's pretty similar to that, but either that or just awesome. I mean,
No, put it with it. Two for, I got, yep.
You have an extra one? Did you give it to Supervisor Hall?
Well, it's the same as,
Yeah, it's got a,
this is just.
But I think-
from,
how about your update? Is there much or not?
I don't have much for an update. I'll cover tax deed property, got a hold of,
Oh, tax deed.
Amanda. Right now, we sold everything that was sellable. We do own still a little bit of right of way, and still part of the Woodley Dam property naturally for this trail there. No change on what we discussed last year. So we're at that place waiting for that. Quick update. There's 2 treatment court graduations in April, on April 10th this year, for this month. Week of April 20th through the 24th is Work Zone Awareness Week. Work has started back up on the fairgrounds for the grandstand. That's hopefully going to be finished up by mid-April. April is Alcohol Awareness Month for the Health Department. Assembly Bill 180 was signed into law by Governor Evers. That's the SNAP benefit junk food law that gives $32 million for SNAP administration. And then Act 25 was passed also. And Joe will know more on this one. That allows video conferencing for Chapter 51 and 55 for mental health witness experts to be done allowable via video. So that helps out with that side of the house. And then sales tax in March was up 16%. That brings us back to the positive for the year. We're ahead of last year by $24,000 or 2%. And that's all I have.
well, somebody, can we get the dates for the treatment court?
April 10th.
April 10th.
Treatment court starts at 8:30 and graduation typically is around 10 o'clock. Judge Anderson's court.
All right. Good.
Chair, do you mind if we take up the litigation update as well? I have to head out after I give that quick.
Yes.
I don't think we have to go into closed session. There are minimal updates. One is that the WRA matter, they requested the Supreme Court to take it on. I think I gave you that update last time. The only update to that is that we have now filed our reply. So now we're waiting for the Supreme Court to make a decision on whether or not they will take up the issue. County received something yesterday that I suppose result in some level of litigation. But the only update I want to give you in relation to that particular letter is I will reiterate that I do not believe that the position of the is correct. Secondly, I will reiterate that I don't believe that we are in violation of any closed session laws. And third, just to make sure that you are aware, in order for any penalty to apply to any committee member, you would be acting knowingly. Both Mr. Schieffer was present at one of the alleged violations so far, beginning of March, and I was present at the second meeting in March where another alleged violation occurred. Again, I don't believe either of those were violations, but we were present. We knew what was being said. If we believed there was a violation, you would have been notified. You all did not. Even if there was a violation, you did not knowingly violate, so you should not be concerned about being held liable or fined personally. If a claim like that comes, the county will defend any such action.
So like he doesn't even put it all in there in that, I'm just gonna, for the closed session. We said 1985 1G, which is to go into closed session so we don't speak out of turn.
I would also
But the lawyer there, so.
He also references a case that is on a completely separate type of exemption. I don't want to get too far into it.
Okay,
Without going back into closed session, because
Yeah.
we have the right to do that if we need to as well.
Correct.
we can do that, but that's why we have it on here, so we can, if they play the game or do whatever, we'll just go into it next time. Or have it on the next meeting again yet to be safe.
Right.
If we have to go into one.
So far as the letter goes, I think any of the claims are unfounded.
Okay.
Thank you.
That's what I'll say. That I have to head to court, so if no one has any questions,
I think we're good.
everyone can handle it for the, you can stay out of trouble for 20 minutes.
No, I might have to convene a closed session without you here, then we'd have trouble. And
Just,
then
we
we'd
could
have all these random people in the closed session.
We could wait.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
There, now we can really talk our minds. Yeah, gotta stay 20 more minutes. That's what he's.
I thought 20 minutes was optimistic.
No, because there isn't. Let's do the Polk case review, get back to that, because we got 11 and 12 done. The update,
And 13.
yeah, we got that. 13 is done.
16.
And so we'll have 14, 15, and 7. Okay. This is number 10. So we have the Board of Review,
Board of Adjustment.
Board of Adjustment, excuse me.
So I have a printout of a summary of the cases that the Board of Adjustment heard this year. I think it's similar to the same format that we passed out last year. I have a brief summary of it. I can.
Yep. Yes, it is.
So in summary, we had 11. I think it was 11, 11 different hearings. Regarding side yard setback, we had 3 that were requesting variances to that. And 1 was granted, 2 were denied. In the shoreline, or we had 6 that were requesting setback relief from the shoreline setback, or that 75-foot setback. There was 2 denied, 3 partially granted, and 1 granted. If you're adding up my numbers as we go, there's 12 instead of 11 because 1 had to deal with shoreland and side yard. So in case you're counting, there was 2 administrative appeals. Those were both granted by the BOA. And there was 1 density standard relief request, and that was granted as well. Otherwise, I mean, we have all the files here. I think I might email, possibly I could email this document to you guys. It has like the links where it would pull in the actual information, you know, like the decision letter and stuff if you guys want, or you can just come in if you have more interest in that, or it would, you know,
So
public, if the public's interested, obviously open record request.
yeah.
Is there any questions on what was
So
all
there's
BOA this year?
So there's a lot less than it used to be. I mean, with only 12, that isn't quite so bad, or some of them.
Yeah, and it's a mix of granted and denied, so there wasn't one thing that just kept going through and getting granted. So I mean, everyone was.
Well, we used to have 20
On its own merits.
setbacks from a private road and stuff. We have 20 of those where this is got around, and the tourist rooming house ones are gone. So I don't know. I don't have any questions. Does anybody else? That seems pretty good. That's great. That's
I only have a couple of things, Mr. Chair. First of all, Eric, did you want to speak about the letter regarding?
Yeah, during the update, I wanted Eric,
Sure, if that's okay.
yep, do the letter one, yep.
We'll do that
So,
first.
As you know, we have been applying for a grant through the Department of Ag, Trade and Consumer Protection for funding towards our well water program. And last year, there wasn't enough money to go into that segregated fund to allow for grants for innovation projects. And this has been an innovation project.
Still, there's uncertainty as to whether or not there will be enough money to get to that innovation grant program, but we intend to apply for that funding again because we're going to continue on with our well water testing and well quality outreach program. So I'd like to ask for a letter of support for our application that goes in here by April 15th. And I've got copies of the letter here. You can pass that around. And it just basically indicates that there's support for our grant application, and this aligns with our land and water plan and the goals and objectives there that are consistent with this program are listed. And this project will be proposed for the Wolf Creek and Osceola Creek St. Croix River watershed. So this would just get attached with our application and sent to the Department of Ag by April 15th.
And it doesn't really need a motion. It needs consensus. I was gonna sign it, but I told them to have everybody read it.
And it's called Goal 2 because Goal 1 was already,
Goal 2, it's just a subset of the goals that are in our land and water plan. And this
Okay.
one is most pertinent to
Okay.
this particular project. And the goal 2 in our land and water plan is to protect groundwater quality and quantity.
perfect. That's for that. I just wondered where that came from. Okay, thank you.
And it seems like in history that we have just done this through consensus and through the division director report, and then Kim will sign it and we'll
Yeah.
utilize it for the grant application. If we can continue that practice, that'd be great.
Sign it.
Oh, yeah. Well, I was gonna just sign it and send it back to them, but I thought, well, let's have the committee.
Yeah.
Make sure they know that we're.
Okay.
Well, it's good too, because
Because it's all of
it's
us.
nice to know, for you all to know that we intend to apply for that funding again to help
Yeah.
support. And the bulk of this funding would cover the costs of the participants' well test analysis. So
What's the prices going up again on some of that?
we're figuring $86 a sample.
Oh, my.
This will be your third
So
or
that's why I
fourth
think-
year in this doing
This is actually gonna be our seventh year.
seventh. Okay, because I
Yeah,
know
it's
you've been
good.
kind of going around the county over the years, so.
Yeah, we started in 2019.
Okay.
Yeah,
And did 2 or 3, and what is there, 43 watersheds?
Yeah,
you only
42.
did,
Small ones,
you didn't do
42.
too many that first year, 1 or 2.
No, we just piloted it for
Yeah.
one watershed.
Yeah,
Yeah.
See, and I think the
But it's good.
DNR's got some new water testing that the state was gonna throw some funding at. They help the whole state do it and see if we can get some of that too. Might have to look that up again, all right?
Okay.
All
you
right.
know what you should do?
Oh.
They're looking for, at the Wisconsin County Association, they're always looking for people to do presentations and workshops. And that would be a great thing to share with the other counties because it's really turned out really well over the years and interesting to see the results and how it's come along.
I think the greatest outcomes are for the public, just understanding and being able to interpret their results and just getting a better sense of their groundwater quality.
Yeah,
Mhm.
get the paper to do it, where the paper people up here, get them to do an article on it too.
We're always looking for good PR,
Yeah.
aren't we, Claire?
Call the
That's,
leader.
that's, well, that's at St. Croix 360 too. They can put it in there.
Yeah.
Yeah,
A lot
absolutely.
of people read that.
I just have a couple more things in the division director report, if that's okay, Chair.
Yep, go ahead.
The county has launched into the 2027 annual budget process. So the first item that you will see with respect to that is the annual report. It's kind of tied into the budget process now, and so you'll see that coming forward here in the near future. We had our state audit on sanitary permitting. We are 5th in the state out of 72 counties for our sanitary permit numbers.
Ooh.
So, that's something. Yeah, when you look at all of them and look at Logan and his team, they are kicking out those permits. Also, for Tim Anderson and the land information crew that applied for the NG 911 grant, we were pleasantly surprised with an additional $20,000 that will come into the department
It's actually 80, it's over $80,000 and it's gonna be split up quarterly.
Yeah, that's what
Oh.
so $20,000 this next,
Wow.
Yep,
yes.
so we're gonna get it quarterly and that's for this annual one. So one of the changes that happened is we've applied and gotten grants to implement NG 911 here. And now they've shifted some of that funding to be maintenance grants.
Yes.
And so we can utilize some of that funding. For example, we can put it in a fund to help fund our aerial photography flights. So we could save some of that money for the upcoming flights in 5 years or whatever. So it's great news.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, $20,000 this quarter that will come in and, so that,
Nice.
Yeah.
Can that get used for the radios and update those too, like for the EMS and some of that or not?
no, not, it's more related to the GIS and to the digital data that we
Okay.
provide for the NG nine.
Or for that part?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. They definitely have a different, area of the grant that they can apply for those type of
For
things.
those, so,
Two segments to that grant opportunity. One's for GIS, one's for the PSAT itself.
okay.
Yeah, this is for the GIS side. And then just real quick, April 22nd is going to be Earth Day and April 24th is our tree day here at Polk County where the parking lot will be busy with people picking up their trees and so will staff. And it's just launching into summer this spring. The office is busy and anything else you want to add to that, Logan?
I don't think so. Just that solar field thing I sent out to you guys.
Oh,
Yes.
Just an FYI, if anyone's interested. I forgot already, Sharon, what was it, an hour they said? Is that what I sent back to you?
Yeah,
Good.
it was about an hour.
Yeah,
I'm gonna try to go to that.
yeah, it'd be interesting. I forget what the date was. I couldn't remember, but
14th or 15th.
yeah, if I'm around, I think I might too, just better knowledge of if another one comes in, then you kind of can see what it actually looks like out there, so.
Right.
Did you all get some survey on that too, on solar? I got some survey request. I forget.
From an elected official standpoint, Sharon?
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah.
I got them
Yeah,
twice.
it was, if you had experience
Yes.
in your county with solar and they wanted information about it. And I started filling it out online. And then, I mean, they got really into detail as far as dates and this and that. And I had to stop and go look stuff up. I couldn't finish filling it up then, so I have to get back to it.
Okay. And then just my final point, sorry, Kim, my final point was that we do have the new zoning technician that's hired and on board, and his name is Curtis. And he is in the office and undergoing training as we speak.
Real tall guy?
So,
That real
No,
tall-
that's the other Keaton.
Oh, okay.
and then,
He was the other one.
Can I say one thing, related to the solar conversation? I had heard that there was, possible legislation that would allow for more local control in solar, and it's SB 3. So
They're trying
you
to
look up,
do it backwards. Yep.
Senate Bill 3.
I read that too, that they're trying to get it back a little more
Good.
because they took it all away and then
Yes, they did.
instead of just in
Uh,
PS.
Yeah, it would just allow more
Local control, more local input.
local input,
public
in
hearings.
relation to or above and beyond the Public Service Commission.
Yeah. But then they can have public hearings locally and then we have to run them instead of them. And that was a lot of it.
So that's it.
No.
See you guys
So-
May 6th for
So did I
Public
miss the
hearing.
tax deed?
So on our deal, it says fee schedules,
Mo
Review.
gave an update. on it.
county board priorities and annual report. That's next
It
month
was
to start with.
Yeah, it can be,
But
sure.
it started. Now there's nothing.
Okay.
Kim, do you, I'll push about on development of the agenda if, anything changes. 'Cause
It
obviously
changes, yeah.
with the public hearing, a lot of times that'll consume a lot of
Yeah.
our focus.
Okay. So that's on our
6th.
work plan.
Conditional use permits. I don't know if are we on work plan or.
Yeah, we're on.
Yeah, we're on work plan.
There's 2 CUPs as well, so I don't know if there's 3 ordinance public hearings and 2 CUPs, if you want to address that in some way, or if you think it's fine.
Well, we can notice.
Ooh,
That might be a lot.
Might want to already plan on having to.
might start planning on
Yeah, but
meetings on
did
that.
you already give, well, okay.
Did you send notice out for the CUPs yet? Oh,
We'll also have to appoint the chair and vice chairs. Yeah, that'll be your organizational meeting.
Organizational meeting and all that too.
So right now, yeah, you're planning on 3 ordinance public hearings. That would be May 20th, then would be the next one, unless you wanted to have a meeting on the 13th. I don't know.
Well, we got all the organizational meetings are in April, aren't they?
No,
Nothing's
until May.
yours is May 6th because you don't meet.
Well, I thought we had like a orientation and all
Yeah,
that.
that's on the 21st at 4 p.m.
So there is that to get started. Okay.
Yeah, do we want to just go ahead and plan on a 20th?
I would think so.
Put the CUPs there, and if we get more, we'll do them all that day.
Yeah, I think so.
So May 20th?
May 20th.
Yeah, would be the CUPs. Okay.
All right, well,
Yeah, that could get too much.
well, conditional uses take a little bit longer than zoning district
Yeah.
uses, yeah. Okay, that's all I had. Anything else, Shabana?
Is there anything you want to move to that one right away?
To the 20th?
Yeah.
Well,
Besides the the annual reports or any of that?
yeah, I think some of that general
Some of
business
that.
we likely will too.
I'll maybe post both of them at the same time so you can play with whichever.
Sounds
Yeah.
good.
What did you say about the 26th? What meeting was that?
The
That's
20th,
the,
21st.
yeah, it was that
21st of April
21st of April.
would be organizational.
Oh,
For the full board.
Yeah, for the county.
Yeah, the county board.
I didn't say the 26th yet, Sharon,
Yeah.
You haven't got to that yet.
but it is my birthday.
I don't think they count those
So,
anymore.
So yeah, those are the dates. 6th and 20th.
We would have been married 61 years in May. That's a
So
long time.
my only other thing is, can we get this online for people to read this?
They'll be in the minutes packet, Kim.
Sure.
Is there another way most people don't want to read
This
minutes?
was online for us.
Yeah, it was online for us. I had, because Mo called me about it and I said, we'll send it out. Probably should have had them send it to this pack. Is there another way we can put it out
Okay, but
for
what-
information or something or not?
What delineates the difference of what's required in a packet versus what is acceptable as a handout?
Exactly.
That's something we should, yeah.
Oh, we get handouts at the county board. They're not in the packet.
Right.
What's the difference with
It's Same
them?
as here, and that's what we gotta,
Right, what delineates the difference?
Shabana, do you know that?
Wow.
because we,
Historically, it was everything that was on the agenda was supposed to be ahead of time, but that has gone by the wayside.
again,
I can only put in there what I receive.
And I think some things too, well,
but that's, I thought, like, because the BOA
on
was
the
having
agenda,
trouble
we
with
don't get
that
it till
too.
we get here. Right.
Not having stuff
Can't even
marked
review
ahead of
it,
time.
so.
Is that in our rules of order that we tried to get 48 hours? Is that what we were trying at the executive? You remember?
No, there was no
Somewhere along the
discussion
line,
on
the
the
rules
packet
got
items.
changed.
Okay. I thought it was on any information that it had to be. Because we still get public comments in the morning too of,
Well, that,
Meeting.
I mean, there was a discussion regarding public comments, but not
Yes.
handouts regarding agenda
handouts.
items.
Right.
okay.
Yeah,
That would be something we should make sure we make a note of to do.
Again, it happens at the county board though, too. I mean, that's-
Exactly.
Yeah.
I don't, not arguing one way or another, but there's definitely been a difference since I've been on this county board that there are things that are agended and then we get information during the meeting and there are
Yeah.
things that are agended
Yeah.
that we get information part of the packet.
Yeah.
I just don't,
Yeah.
it's a question. It's not a,
I guess one thing that I would just say regarding that topic with this team is that like if it's listed as discussion, it seems like there's still the ability to bring some things forward at that time to discuss with you. If it's listed for action and it's actionable items, those things are usually things that you have vetted and we have things in your hand, at least in the packet.
Yeah.
And that's sort of the rule of thumb that perhaps we
Sure.
try to follow, but if it's listed as discussion, it seems like we're still able to have open discussion with you, give you charts, give you information, because you're not typically acting on those, there's no resolution at hand.
and the information is also posted that we have the right, it just as anybody, member of the public has the right to do their own research ahead of time, which I have also done. It's like, oh, I see this is on the agenda. What is this about? And I will do research myself.
Yeah, especially when you don't get anything on it. Just,
Again, if it's a discussion item, it's being brought forward.
As a review.
Oh, yeah, and I didn't,
That's,
yeah,
That's all.
that's what we're running.
Not a discussion item. It's not.
yeah, and I didn't even know that when that item was placed on, and I think it was, Chair asked for it to be on the agenda.
Bo. Yeah, we asked about it because people were asking about where you getting, are we making all this up? No, we
The
went
right,
through all this.
the right to rent law, yeah.
Like the rent law and stuff. So I said we should just get it out there so we can discuss it.
Okay.
Or at least show it. And Mo said, well, he found that. And, well, and you even went to it, didn't you?
I think
So Sharon even that went to
I
it.
probably have notes on it somewhere.
So I just thought that would be good to get out there. So it isn't like we made all this up. That it was actually
Yeah,
out there.
I mean,
So,
sounds good, sounds great. I just,
but I think we should, think about that when we do our rules of order.
Mhm.
Is put that
Yeah,
in there.
absolutely. And I don't care one way or another. I just know that since I've been on, that
We just have it where
we've
people,
seen information come both ways.
because a lot of people come up with public comment and start handing stuff out.
Yeah,
And we tried to say, no, you gotta give it to the clerk or something, because then,
Which technically is not allowed per our rules of order.
yes, because they always say, can you put it on the record? No, it's public comment. It is not.
Right.
So. All right, any other fun items?
I make a motion, we adjourn.
Second.
Favor? Opposed? There we go.
and I
I'm gonna have